Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, theys, and gays. This is your boy Hunter. Happy Friday. Thank God it's Friday. But then again, when you're unemployed, all the days run together. I hope you're all having a great night, day, weekend, whenever you're checking this out. I am privileged to have two of my favorites. I've got Brandon here. Brandon, how you doing, sir?
Hey, I'm doing quite well on this Friday. Can't complain.
Hell yeah. And I've got man, looking dude, I'm loving what's going on with your hair, by the way. Like I s- yeah, I swear Bradley gets more like Bradley starts to like morph more into a black person the more I see him. Like always invited to the cookout. Bradley, how are you, sir?
Good, thank you. Hello. Yes.
So, okay. So my day so far has actually been pretty damn good. I got a chance to interview got a chance to interview first time director Princeton James for his film Queen Rising, which stars April Hale. Um I've been knocking out these interviews. I'm gonna go quick brag on myself. I've been knocking some interviews out this week. This was my one, two. This was my third. Wait, third? Is that right? Yeah, third interview in 3 days, for a film. Yeah. So I've been crushing it. Not gonna lie. So you're gonna have these interviews up here in the next couple weeks. Real excited to bring those to y'all. So what I will say is my day started off on not a great note. So I typically, when I go ahead and decide, like, all right, I'm gonna go and do a stream. I want to go ahead and open up Twitter, see what's going on. And the first thing I open up is there's a new Tyler Perry movie. And I'm just like, God fucking damn it. Mea Culpa just came out a couple months. Like Tyler Perry's been good in the sense of he's been limiting his shit to like a movie a year. So it's like, cool. I know I'm gonna have this headache. I just gotta knock shit out, get it over with, and then I'm done. Cool. So I accepted my fate with Mea Culpa. Actually, now I think about it, I don't know if I've actually uploaded that review yet. I think that's in the vault. It will be up. Spoiler alert: it's shit. But I, but I was like, okay, like one movie, cool, done, right? So, with that said, this new film, I want to pull this up. I have it here. I want to make sure I get the title right because the title is so important. The title is called Divorce the Black.
That can't be it.
Hang on. Divorce in the Black. Sorry, that's so
Okay.
much better.
Yeah, barely.
Divorce in the Black. That's what it's called. So let me read you the synopsis. Ava's husband, Dallas, leaves her heartbroken, shocker, as he deserts their marriage. Dallas's malicious actions unravel as Ava gets a chance to find true love with her destined soulmate. So this shit's coming out in less than a month, July 11th, right? Written and produced by Tyler Perry, again, to the surprise of no one. Here's where this is why I have my name right now is saying Pastor Hunter, because I'm going to take y'all to church right now because I've been pissed off all morning about this for one reason. So I simply posted something like, man, I'm so sick of him doing the same crap, which at this point, 20 something films in, I think is completely valid, valid criticism to have about Tyler Perry. With that said, there is this woman, a black woman, might I add, which goddamn, you would think, I'll get to you in a second. So this one brother responds and goes, Exactly. So he can continue to put out the same drivel. And that's a perfect term for it, drivel, because at this point, he is not fucking trying. There's no try or want at this point outside of, just corporate greed. And so this woman, again, a black woman, responds and says, if he so desires, what lane have you created for people to thrive in? That's what she says back to me. So here's where Pastor Hunter's coming out, because I see that shit, and this is where I'm like, oh, you want to go down this road? Fuck it. To quote Kendrick, you want to play? Nigga, let's play. Because now I'm fucking angry. So this is what I'm going to say about Tyler Perry. Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention, you know who's starring as Ava in the movie? Do either of you know who's
Megan Good, right?
Yeah, Megan Good. So let me just take this from a PR perspective. Megan Good is currently dating Jonathan Majors, who, has had some legal trouble. So from a basic 101, you don't even need to take a PR class. Wouldn't you think that maybe, just maybe, you don't want to have the woman who is dating now the former King the Conqueror starring your fucking movie about domestic abuse coming out? Like, maybe, just maybe, you don't want to do that shit? Like, don't the optics of that look fucking shitty as hell? Like, so that's number one. Number two, looking at Tyler Perry on IMDb, he has, and this is admittedly including TV shows, but looking at his director credits, he has 67 directorial credits on IMDb. Where's the growth? Like, at what point do we have this conversation and go? So I've known Canada longer than I've known you, Brandon. I've known Canada for, like, what are we at? Like 4 years ish, probably at this point. Like because it was pre-pandemic.
Probably, yeah.
So like we'll say 4 years. One of my favorite conversations, and I'm not even trying to put Bradley on blast, but I'm sharing this, is he asked me, he's like, okay, Hunter, what is it about Tyler Perry that bothers you so much? And he wasn't asking as like in a snarky way, like our friend Larry does. Shout out to Larry at Real Early, because Larry just loves to piss me off. Larry loves to like poke, like prod, and just be like, all right, I'm not getting the smoke. Go ahead, Hunter. But Brad legitimately asked me, like, what is it about Tyler Perry that angers you so much? And this response from this woman, it's exactly my issue with him, is that people always go to the, well, he's giving black people a chance, so why are you so mad? Here's the thing. Look at someone like Jordan Peele with what he did with Monkey Man. That movie was heading to fucking streaming, probably gets lost in the shuffle because streaming is streaming and it's all about, access, not actual content. He goes ahead and goes, no, fuck that. I'm going to go ahead and produce that. My production studio is going to produce this shit so it gets a theatrical release. Well deserved, by the way. If you have not watched Monkey Man, watch Monkey Man. It's fucking awesome. It's actually hitting Peacock, I think, next week, actually. I think on the 19th or something. So check out Monkey Man. Seriously, watch that shit. But I think we need to really have this conversation, because I'm at this point where it's like, how many times can you hear the I'm telling our stories bullshit? And just like, it's the same shit. And at some point, this motherfucker needs to be held responsible. Like, he's not doing anything. Like, Jordan Peele, let me pull this up, because I'm actually curious. So I said Tyler Perry has, what was it? 67 directorial director credits. Jordan Peele, Oscar winner, Jordan Peele, he has 5. Yeah. He has fucking 5, and he's shown more growth in his 5 than Tyler Perry has in his 67. And at this point, y'all, it's the same thing I say about Zack Snyder. It is a narrative at this point. It's no longer about the quality of their work. It is about the fact, like, well, look, Tyler Perry was living on the streets, and, like, look at what he was able to do. He was able to pull himself up from those bootstraps and to create this empire. And the whole empire is actually my biggest issue, because, as I just mentioned, Jordan Peele of Monkey Man, he goes ahead and puts his name out there for someone like Dev Dev Patel, who, let's be clear, after you see Monkey Man, this motherfucker deserves all the opportunities in the world for what he did with Monkey Man, and considering how serious he took it. But you see Tyler Perry, he's not producing other people's shit. He's not giving black directors a chance to direct shit under his banner. He's not directing other people's scripts. He is the Drake of directors at this point. He is just and not contributing shit. And I think it's time for us to really have that conversation, because let's be clear, ever since Boo Medea Halloween, which is the first review, fun fact, that my film head ever called me, yelled at me for, simply because I said Tyler Perry was the worst dangerous combination to black people since a tree and rope, and I stand by that shit, by the way. Tyler Perry, you're a fucking intense monster.
That's pretty intense.
Yeah, I mean, I go hard in the paint, Bradley. You know this. But at the time, not a great thing to say, admittedly. But at the same time, every time he puts out a project, I'm like, dude, prove me wrong. Like, seriously, prove me wrong at this point. And he keeps proving me right. And at some point, I'm just like, this isn't even fun anymore. This is like kicking it. Like, it really is being a dead horse. But no one's reviewing his shit because, to an extent, I think there is a fear of backlash from the Tyler Perry fans, because his fan base, they're just like Nicki Minaj fans, just like the Barbs. They're horribly intense and will defend anything this fucker puts out. It doesn't matter about the quality of the content. But at the same time, Tyler Perry gets that pass of, oh, well, it's Tyler Perry, like he's making, but the thing is, man, what was that one movie? You can put out schlock. I get that, but don't act like it's high end. And that's what his fan base does. They elevate his schlock like it's good, and it's not good. It's dog shit. It's been dog shit. Like, people's careers are actually worse once they work with him. I always have to remind people, Derek Luke was in a fucking Medea. Not Medea Goes to Camp. He hasn't made that one yet. Medea Goes to Jail. Not that one. He was in that one. And fucking Rudy Huxtable was in that shit. That's the second time she's worked with a bad black person. It's like at some point, y'all, can we just stop with the whole narrative of he built himself up? At this point, he has even less excuse to be putting out bullshit because he owns his shit. He has a fucking studio that he can literally make whatever he wants at this point, and he's still this bullshit. And my head hurts at this point because people can't give me an actual reason as to why he doesn't want to try anymore. Like Jordan Peele, Get Out, Us, Nope. Quite frankly, I think those are three, at worst, great films. If you're being the most critical in the world, great films at absolute worst. I think Get Out is an all-time classic. I think Nope is going to age, quite frankly, really well in the next 5 years. I think people are going to look back on Nope and go wow, we were way too hard on Nope. You're already seeing those conversations about Us, honestly. I've had multiple people who are horror fans, and I was riding hard for that movie when it came out, and I've had people kind of go yeah, I've revisited Nope's Us since then, and it's it actually is pretty fucking awesome. But I at this point, y'all, to quote Wanda Sykes, not only am I sick, I'm tired, and I'm sick of being tired. But it's this man is just a blight on black cinema, and it's amazing to me. And I think you'll know what I'm saying, Brandon. I remember when A Wrinkle in Time came out. I remember so many articles coming out, people going oh man, Ava DuVernay, she can't handle budgets, she shouldn't be allowed to make movies anymore. And it's so she has one miss and you're ready to dismiss her, but Tyler Perry is missing like a motherfucker and he keeps getting budgets. It's fuck off. Now, obviously the sexism is a huge component of that, that's a no-duh. But goddamn, man. And I'm going to say one last thing before I throw it to y'all. I think the real uncomfortable truth, and no one wants to say this shit, is that Tyler Perry represents what a lot of racist white people want from black directors. being stuck in neutral, not trying to push anything forward, not trying to advance the culture, just going ahead and placating to a very niche, gross audience that doesn't give a fuck and doesn't want to do better. I think that's why he's elevated. I don't even think it's his story anymore. I think it's what he represents. And on that level, I find it fucking disgusting. All right, I'm gonna take a sip of my beer. Brandon, go.
Well, I'll say that I do not hate Tyler Perry to the degree that Hunter does, but I think it's impossible. That hatred is over 9,000, and it's just But I get it at the same time. Like, I do not enjoy his movies. Even when I was young, and like that was like it was like the rage for like all the middle-aged older women to be watching Tyler Perry plays and the Tyler Perry movies. But I do rather enjoy Tyler Perry parodies. Like,
oh, those are great. Yeah.
Or, the Atlanta episode. They're
Mr. Chocolate.
Yeah, there was even like a straight up parody movie, like last month, like Not Another God movie.
Yeah,
that was, like,
I haven't seen yet.
The Tyler Perry parody. But no, I stopped watching his movies even out of like hatred, like a long time ago. Like I think like one of the last ones I watched was one of his Netflix one that me and my roommate just hate watch because we knew it was going to be bad, but we knew people. Like you said, like there are people that this is catering to and they enjoy it every single time because it's just the same movie with like a different texture, a different filter. But no, it's boring, especially when you have like black creatives, like you mentioned Jordan Peele, but also like Issa Rae and Donald Glover, who like you see like pop up in other people's projects and like other writers. They have a writer's room or other creatives that they are like empowering to like go and do their own stuff afterwards. Like when you see stuff like that, it just makes Tyler Perry like just that much more ill. And like to me, he's like the anti, or like he's trying to be, but like he can't be. He's the anti Lee Daniels or
John. That's a great comparison, actually.
Yeah. Because like none of his movies are on either of those filmmakers like level, but like, he tries to appeal to that same kind of crowd, and it doesn't work.
Yeah, I'm tired, man. Like I think Donald Glover is a perfect comparison because like you think about Swarm and how many times like there are other people writing Atlanta episodes and all that, and you're just like, okay, Donald Glover is letting these people, like shine, and not just Stephen Glover. Because I can already hear someone going, he's just using his brother. Like I can already hear that shit. No, not true. Shut the fuck up. But yeah, man, like between Atlanta and like a Black Lady sketch show, there's
that alone.
Like there's other shit for you to watch. It's just like I'm so sad, dude. Like I don't know what it was about today in particular. Because look, I have not been shy about my hatred of Uncle Tom's Tyler Perry. I just like I have not been shy about. But goddamn, something about it today just hit me in the spot that I was not prepared for. And he's doing another Medea movie. And I'm just like, fuck, make it stop. Like, you remember like 5 years ago when he was like, oh, I'm done playing Medea. And I'm like,
that's a lie.
I actually cut out the clip from the review I did and sent it to Brad. Because Canada was like, wait, did you say that? And I was like, dude, I said this in a review almost 4 years to the day. And I cut the clip and emailed it to him. And he's like, wow, you really did call this. I was like, he can't stop. It's like he can't help himself. Okay. So, all right. I'm calm. Canada, I will give you final thoughts before we move on because, yeah, I've already talked about this longer than I wanted, but please.
Sure. Well, I don't have much to say either. The last Tyler Perry movie I liked is when Tajiri P. Henson was one of his regulars. Because I'm a huge fan of all her work.
Yeah, she was
Snubbed
good.
for Benjamin Button. That should have been her Oscar win.
Yeah, she really
yeah.
was.
Very, very magnetic, astounding presence. I liked Why Did I Get Married? I thought that was silly and fun. Was Kevin Hart in that?
That
Who was
one,
in that?
no.
I don't think
So
so.
okay, so you know what's weird is like that's like I can't even say it's good just because like him Tyler
I mean, the
Perry's in
sequel
it
is
and
terrible.
like
The sequel's
yeah,
embarrassing.
the sequel is bad. But Jill Scott is really good in
Oh,
Why
yeah.
Did I Get Married. That's like the one compliment I can give that movie. Yeah, sorry, go
Well,
ahead.
and like you said, I told you this. Like, why don't you like Tyler Perry? I mean, his movies are funny, and then I would drop those. And Hunter, I remember you told me that was like 15 years ago, dude. I mean, it sounds like it's been a minute since you've watched a Tyler Perry movie, and it has. I feel like he's just kind of a brand and not really a person.
Yeah,
Like when
that's
he's
a good
like,
way to
"We're
put it.
telling our stories. We're telling our stories." Well, what is your story? You're a billionaire.
Yeah,
So I'd
sadly.
like for you to tell that story. Have you all seen JCVD? Jean-Claude Van Damme literally has a monologue where he opens up about why he's famous and how at that age he didn't know what to do with it. And like
Yeah.
all famous wealthy actors who blow up overnight, what he did with it was chaotic and full of vices. And it's a wonderful monologue. I'd like to see that from Tyler Perry. It wouldn't be probably as dramatic, but it would be nice for him to tell his story and be like, I'm a freaking billionaire. I have no idea what it's like to live in a 1-bedroom apartment and have a single daughter. But that's the story I'm telling. I hope a light-skinned black man can save me. Like, and shout out to Aaron McCruder for that observation, which continually seems to be repeated in his work.
It's like he's leaning into it's like he's leaning into it
he
at
has
this point.
to know. He has to know.
It's so weird. Like, so I love that point that you bring up. And you know what is frustrating about Tyler Perry, and the last thing I'll say is I'll see him in stuff like Star Trek or Gone Girl or Don't Look Up, and I'm like, you can act. I know you're capable of being better, but you choose to not be better, and like that's what's so maddening about it. It's like you clearly know what a good script looks like because you get onto these other movies, but then you can't write them yourself, and it's like, why? Like, where's the disconnect? Kelly Rowland, I mean, outside of standing up for Chris Brown, which, by the way, bitch, what are you thinking? Like, seriously, sit your ass down. But the fact that she was so proud to be in Tyler Perry's Mea Culpa, which, man, that is in a dead heat between that and Rebel Moon, and that latest Megamind film, which, holy fuck, that last Megamind movie is like, oh man, that movie sucks.
I haven't seen that one.
It's
luckily.
Oh man, dude,
Straight to Peacock, right?
Yeah,
there's no Peacock in Canada, so we avoid a lot of.
You know what? You're lucky because you're missing. Like,
and I had to buy Poker Face, but that was a good purchase. So.
Oh hell yeah!
Oh yeah, I just don't need to watch that.
Yes,
I will say one thing I love about Brad is, like, I know he loves his kids way too much to never show them that Megamind sequel, because boy howdy, man, that's one of those movies where I'm like, man, if I was a parent, my kid was putting this on every day, I'd be like, oh no, Peacock's down, let's switch to Hulu or something. But yeah, so what's this shit? Yeah, Divorce in the Black. Jesus Christ, it's like these titles do, man. It's like the Transformers titles, where it's just like it's almost like we're being put through a randomizer. It's like, you can't be thinking of these titles. Like, there's no thought being put behind this shit. But this shit comes out fuck, when is it? July 11th. Fuck. I mean, I'll be reviewing it because I know no one else has the balls to, and I will be, I'm going on a dry month. I was gonna do a dry month in July. I don't know if I can get through with Tyler Perry without alcohol, so might have to wait till August. But all right, cool. I said I wanted to keep this under a half hour for the rant, so we're right at time. So I'm gonna move on to something happier. We're gonna talk about Hot Rod. So for those of you who have not checked it out, Seth Meyers and The Lonely Island are actually doing a podcast where they talk about all the digital shorts and projects that they've done together. And so they just this past week went ahead and released Hot Rod, the part 1 episode, talking about Hot Rod. So Hot Rod is written by Pam. The Lonely Island did do touch-ups to stuff, but Pam Brady was the main writer. So Pam Brady, from being a producer on South Park for 11 years, it's fucking wild. She went ahead and also produced that movie The Bubble, which is not good, unfortunately.
Netflix, right?
Yeah, you remember that with Karen Gillan and like Keegan-Michael Key, and yeah, that's not a good movie. But she wrote she produced South Park Imagination Land, which I think is actually one of the best things South Park has produced. I think that's incredibly ambitious. I think it's like 3 or 4 parts for Imagination Land, something like that. But she also went ahead and was a writer. This is probably her claim to fame. She wrote South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, which is one of my favorite musicals ever. I think that's an absolutely brilliant musical. Who knew that Saddam Hussein's and Satan fucking would be a would be an ongoing joke that would work. But I remember watching this in college, which was so long ago. So this was 2007. This came out. So I would have been, so 2007. I was like 19. God damn, I was 19 when this came out. And I remember renting this from Hollywood Video. I miss Hollywood Video. But the movie in short, in question, follows Rod Kimball, who's played, of course, by Andy Samberg, a man I have an immense respect for. I think Samberg is fucking brilliant. The plot, to put it plainly, it's fucking stupid, and I mean that as a compliment. Like it is one of the dumbest plots like you could ever conceive. It's a Save the Rec Center movie, but the Rec Center is his stepdad Frank, who's played brilliantly by Ian McShane. And one of my favorite bits that they talk about in the whole Lonely Island Seth Meyers podcast is Ian McShane was on, I guess, to promote John Wick Chapter 4. And he's talking to Seth Meyers like in between commercials. He says, don't forget to say hi to the boys for me. Like he refers to Lonely Island as his son. So I was like, that makes me so happy that Ian McShane still refers to them as that. So I'll just say right off the bat, one of the things that bums me out is quality is rarely shown in box office quantity, unfortunately. The Lonely Island has just had really bad luck with their films not doing well. Like it's really shitty. Like this didn't do well. Popstar didn't do well. It's like, goddamn. Like it really wasn't until Palm Springs and like Rescue Rangers that hit streaming that they went ahead and found an audience. But Popstar and Hot Rod have both become in that walk hard category as far as like damn, we should have appreciated this more when it came out in theaters. I'll throw it to you first, Brandon. What was your experience with Hot Rod? Like when did you watch it like originally, and like what were your initial thoughts like the first time you saw it?
Gee, I wish I could remember the very first time I saw it, but I know for a fact that my brother Jamarco introduced it to me at a point where like the Lonely Island were at their peak on Saturday Night Live, and it had to be before Popstar, maybe around one of their HBO documentary times.
Nice. Okay.
But either way, yeah, Hot Rod was one of those movies where it was like, oh man, no, I love this immediately. Like just like you, I love Andy Samberg. I love like the rest of the Lonely Island crew and their brand of comedy. And so like it was just like it was weird to see like a full length movie from them, because I remember back in the SNL days they had like they were almost gonna have like their own TV show at a point. I don't remember. I forget if that was just like a sketch or like a real thing that was going to happen. But no, like I don't know, like seeing like their brand of comedy. Like I know you said like it wasn't written by them, but you can feel like their influence and like their style all over it. One of the members, Akiva, directed. He directs like all of their stuff mostly. But no, yeah, being a big fan, like unironically, of their music, and like their comedy, like had me from the start from this movie. The rest of the cast as well: Bill Hader, Danny McBride, like you mentioned, Ian McShane, like they all
So
make
good.
this movie like what it is. It's so dumb, so fun.
It's so dumb.
It's one of the main reasons I say cool beans as much as I do.
Yes.
So yeah, I owe this movie a lot for my brand of comedy and what I think is funny. Now,
I will say, and no hyperbole, even when I say this, it has one of my favorite third act fight scenes maybe ever in a movie. Like it's so rewarding. Like you get to the third act and you get this big. There's so one of the opening sequences, Rod fights Frank, and it has one of my favorite lines right off the bat where Frank goes, "Never sneak up on someone who's been in a chemical fire," and you're just like, "Wait, what?" You're like, "Why is that like how is that relevant to this fucking fight?" And and then Rod ends up going ultimate punch, but he kicks.
yeah,
And it's like you're like, you dumbass. It's God.
so good.
Canada. I'll throw it to you, man. Well, yeah. What were your like when you did you remember when you initially saw this?
Well, I missed the theatrical release.
Mm.
I remember my buddy way back when I lived in Washington State. Actually, he would quote it constantly. He'd be like, "Hey, this is Bradley. He likes to party, and I'm Dustin. I also like to party." Whenever someone new would join our cubicle area, one time I was like, "Well, you always say that. What is that?" And he's like, "Danny McBride. You don't know Danny McBride?" And I'm like, maybe. Anyways, that's what led me to checking out. I think I got a hot rod from Redbox. Actually,
Nice.
Nice.
watched it. I loved it. I love silly, goofy comedy that's relatable, and people listening like, how is this relatable? Like having a new father figure come into your life and embodying all the emotions that kids feel when they have a new father
Yeah.
figure. Because Ian McShane like makes them literal. Like, I'm bigger than you. I'm stronger than you. You will never beat me. Your mom only loves me now. He's so good
Yeah.
at it, and he's got such a charismatic, deep, angry voice, which he's known for, especially from Deadwood. And seeing this kid, Rod, trying to overcome this oppressive stepfather through the means of something he's terrible at is also hilarious to me, because I just love the idea in films where people dream big, but their ambitions are so far out that they can't reach them.
Yeah.
But what's brilliant about this to me is people come to those to see crashes. So is he a bad stuntman, or is he kind of actually
like,
great?
Well, it's
Totally.
kind of fucked up, but it's like, you know people weren't going to Siegfried and Roy to see to not see something go wrong. Like at some point you knew like you could only fuck with tigers for so long until something happens. And I mean, credit to Siegfried and Roy, they went 30 years, something like that. Like they went a long ass time without one of those tigers snapping, but at some point you knew like the tiger was gonna
and credit to them again. They both, after the incident when people were like, how could this have possibly happened, both of them what I've looked into kind of are like, it's a tiger.
Yeah.
It's a white tiger. It did exactly what a white tiger does.
Yeah,
and that's pretty ballsy.
To quote Chris Rock, that tiger didn't go crazy. The tiger went tiger. It's like it's like exactly like Which Bradley, this is why I always give you shit about animals. I'm like, dude, I want you to live. Like, don't look in bushes. Like, listen to your black friends. We're trying to help you out. Like, we want you here for a long time. I will say too, the soundtrack. I'm a big soundtrack nerd. Like, I love a good like movie soundtrack or good movie score, and the soundtrack for this is like so Europe heavy. So first off, like win right there. To go kind of music nerd on y'all. Not just because Bryan Danielson, one of my favorite wrestlers ever, uses the theme. The Final Countdown, if I need to wake up, that's one of the songs I can put on and I'm like, okay, let's go. Like I can do anything I put on the Final Countdown. That's fucking love that song. Brad, you brought up Danny McBride. It's kind of crazy to think back to 2007 because he had just done the Foot Fist Way, which if you have not seen a Foot Fist Way, I highly recommend. I'm gonna butcher the line here, but there's a point he's like a karate instructor, and one of these kids is like, "Oh wow, you're like Jackie." No, he's like, "What does he say?" Oh no, he's like, "Oh wow, you're like Bruce Lee." And without missing a beat, Danny McBride is like, "Yeah, except I'm not fucking dead." And I was like, "Jesus Christ!" Like why? It's like why would you? And this kid is like 9. I was like, "Wow, asshole," but also hilarious. And I still remember the first time I saw it, I went, "All right, Danny McBride, like I don't know who you are, but I'm keeping an eye out on you." And you know, you look at what Dan McBride has done, whether it's, you know, This Is the End or Righteous Gemstones, which is going to season 4, I think. 4 or 5, right? Like, I think it's season 4. Actually, shit. Now I'm curious. Now I'm actually Righteous.
It might be it's about to be the longest running of one of his shows, I think.
So they're heading into season 4. That's wild. That's wild. Yeah. They're heading to season 4 because you got two seasons of Vice Principals and you got 3 seasons of Eastbound. I want to say.
4.
Is it 4? Oh, that's right. So I know you're watching Eastbound and Down right now. What
Currently
season are you on?
Season 2.
Ah, hell yeah. Season 2 in Mexico is fun.
Season, basically.
Yeah, that's are you at least halfway through the season?
I think so, yeah.
When Jason Sudeikis shows up as his best friend, I was like, "Oh, this makes me so happy!"
Jason Sudeikis popping up like as like a random character, like it only happened twice, like in comedies, like shows like this and like Always Sunny, where he's like one of their old friends, like that just pops up like for an episode. Love that guy. But
so good.
Danny McBride fantastic.
It's crazy. It's crazy what he's done. I mean, he's the best thing in Alien Covenant for me. I think he's fucking awesome in that. I was like,
people share that opinion too.
Yeah, no, he's like, I remember when he showed up, I was like, wow, dude. I was like, he's like, he can actually do dramatic shit. And you know, he wrote I know he wrote the Halloween reboot. I can't remember if he wrote the other 2, but I know he wrote the him and
contributed.
It was him and his guy.
Okay.
Evan. No, not Evan.
Is it Jody Hill?
Yeah, Jody Hill. There you go.
Yeah.
Goldberg is Seth Rogen's guy.
Yeah. I will say too, maybe a horror hot take. I think the 2018 Halloween's better than the original, and I've actually rewatched the original recently, and I'm like,
that's a hot take. Yeah. I really enjoy 2018 is my favorite Halloween since the original. So not a scorching hot take, but I love it a lot. I think its ending is perfect. Also, it's not that I'm saying the sequels shouldn't have happened, but I'm good with watching 2018 and saying, and that's the end of that. You know,
that's where I land. Even though I will say in Halloween Ends, that last fight between Laurie and Michael, I think is fucking awesome. Like that because I have a huge thing of garbage disposals, to be honest. I have this very like maybe irrational fear that a garbage disposal will randomly just go off when I like put my hand in. Like I'm not a fan of that. So whenever that shit turned on, I was like, oh, please don't do that. like for the love of fuck. So throwing back here, Bill Hader. Now I have incredible reverence for Bill Hader. I love the dude. I can't wait for him to do a horror movie. That's gonna heal the world when he does a horror movie, because
Well,
when
he's
you
so
look at what he
tall,
does,
though. He's a very tall man.
Yes.
I mean, true, but I mean, oh god, watch him do a Slender Man movie.
Tall men
and
are
I'm just
either
like-
the killers or they just kind of hang out in a lot of horror movies.
They do,
yeah,
yeah.
I mean, true. You're not wrong. But when you think about like just taking Bill Hader off Barry alone, like just taking Barry, that's one of my favorite shows ever. That's a show that just knew when to end, which is so hard to do. Like it actually knew when to end and when to stop and not overstay its welcome, which so many shows never do at this point. Two, when you think back to Hader, you think like, Skeleton Twins, his voice working Inside Out. Like he's in the fucking Star Wars universe technically too. The motherfucker just like he gets himself as an actor and just gets like what he needs to do. Even something like Forgetting Sarah Marshall, where he's such a side character, he's so fucking funny in that movie.
Yeah.
And him playing Dave in here. I love Team Rod just because it's such a mishmash of fucking misfits. Like it's that first group of friends that you get that you just kind of, like I think we've all been there, where you get that group of friends and then like maybe one or two fall by the wayside, but you end up having that core group, maybe 2 or 3 people that you just, that you're still talking to, 15, 20 years later. I am proud to say, like, one of my oldest friend I've known for 25 years. We've been friends, and which is crazy that I've known people that long. But Team Rod is so funny because you have Yorma, who's Kevin, who is Frank's actual kid, and I love their whole big fight. He's like, yeah, you're short. He's like, no, I'm not. Like, I love that that's the conflict for their for their breakup, but also
Perfect little brother like character.
Yeah, but there's this very like awkward yet hilarious scene where he sees, oh, what's the guy who does the dance? Who just does the boom, 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 boom. I can't think of the guy's name. They only say his name once too, and it's like such a great joke, and I can't. I know you'll probably get to it before I do, but it's like that shit just had me.
Richardson.
Thank you, because it's a great running gag. He just shows up like in scenes, and he's just dancing in the background for absolutely no fucking reason. Isla Fisher. I want to talk about her. First off, sup, girl. You are single now, after all. So, I might shoot that shot. But she, like, but she's, that's one of my first, not even one of the first, but that's one of my favorite laugh out loud moments of the movie. Is that Rod and her reconnect, and he's clearly smitten. I mean, who wouldn't be? I mean, Jesus, look at her. But he has this great, very middle school reaction where he goes like in passing, like, you look pretty, as she walks away. And she goes, wait, what? And without missing a beat, he goes, oh, I said you look shitty. And it's just, it's so one of those. She even laughs too, because she's clear. It's like, okay, I have an idea what you said, but of course you would go to this shit. But my God, that moment is so wonderful. Brandon, I'm gonna throw it to you, man. Give me one of your favorite moments from the movie, because there's stuff we haven't touched on yet that I want to. But
oh man, there's so many like small moments that like I love, because like I think it's when like the Rod crew are just hanging out, and Danny McBride's character Rico is dancing, but he keeps like pushing Yorma into like the van.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Like little stuff like that like kills me. Same with I mean, like, just like you mentioned, Isla Fisher, like her character, her introduction. Like I think Rod like fakes drowning at one point. Like
Yeah.
saves him.
Like
And,
the Sandlot. Yeah.
Exactly like the Sandlot.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
This movie emulates a lot of those kind of coming of age kids movies, but like the kids are adults in this. At least like they never really say how old Rod is, but
That's a
he's got
really good point. They don't.
he's got to like to be hanging out with people like Bill Hader and Danny McBride. Like it's funny either way, like whatever his age is. But just like to Isla Fisher's credit, like she's so good like in dramatic roles, but like I think she kills it in like comedy every single time. Like she's always game for like the weird kind
Yeah.
of comedy kind of stuff like that. And like I think this even like Tag are like good examples.
That's
of,
exactly where I was going. Okay, so
like, going committing.
She's so hot in Tag, and B, she's so intense in Tag. It's like, girls, like, goddamn, like that's a ride or die. It's like, okay, I get why, like this works so well for you. I'll say one of my favorite moments just because it's so intense. Danny McBride's character Rico, once they have the whole Team Rod breakup, he just starts yelling at Rod like, "Who am I supposed to build ramps for now? Who?" And I'm like, "You can build ramps for so many people. Like, why? Like, why is it such a like the fact the ramp is a sticking point for me just kills me." Also, there's this moment where Rod is talking to Frank. Because I should finish up the plot. So basically, Frank needs this surgery. This heart surgery, a very conveniently priced $50,000. And I will say, going to what Brad said earlier, the way that Frank just as a man cuts Rod down like at every fucking turn is so it's so funny, but there's a cruelness to it where you're just like, dude, you are like psychologically damaging this kid like anytime you guys talk. Like, it's like he when he tells Rod and the family, like, oh, I'm dying, and he goes, well, how am I supposed to earn your respect if I can't beat you? And he goes, maybe you should have thought of that before you sucked at being a man your whole life. And you're like, Jesus Christ, like, dude, calm down. And
traditionally, that would be the moment where the stepdad says, "Oh, son, I've always respected you," or something.
Yeah, right.
And McShane just tears him down again.
And no, not at all.
It's like throughout the thing, like while he's raising the money, like Ian McShane is just like, nope, I'm ready to die. I've accepted my fate. Like you're not gonna save me. And like one of my favorite bits is when Andy Samberg does his like traditional yell. He's like, I'm gonna save you so I can kick your ass, Frank. And it's just so good. He's so genuine and like committed to saving him just to kick his ass.
I love that he's like, no, you're wrong, Frank. I am a man. I'm gonna get you better, and I'm gonna beat you to death. and without missing a beat, Frank goes, "You couldn't beat a drum." I'm like, God damn!
Yeah.
It's which leads to one of my favorite scenes. No bullshit, in a comedy where Rod goes out and like rage dances in the woods. And then falls for like 2 minutes straight, and an uncomfortable amount of time. That's actually verbatim what they say on the podcast. Is like in the script that apparently said Rod falls for an uncomfortable amount of time, and apparently originally he was supposed to fall for 5 minutes, and I'm like, oh man, I would have laughed the whole time if you'd had to be a 5-minute falling sequence. I would have been clapping like, good, more. But then after Rod falls for an uncomfortable amount of time, that's where he gets the idea to go ahead and do one big stunt to go ahead and raise the money. So Brad pointed out the point where he fake drowns. There's this there's a sequence where he races down a hill, and he has to say for a whiskey, and I love that so much because the safe word does absolutely nothing. There's no reason. There's no reason for them to have the conversation about having a safe word because gravity doesn't care. But it leads to a scene, a sequence that was apparently all improv, where Danny McBride just snaps as Rico, and he's like, I go to church every Sunday morning. You're bringing the demons out of me, and he beats the shit out of this guy with like a traffic cone, and then steals his hat and just goes, "That's totally my hat." Yeah. I just went, "Why is this in
this
here?"
Is my hat
and
now.
like, it's so amazing. I want to point him out just because we haven't talked about him yet. Will Arnett is so fucking perfect in this movie. He's not in this a lot, but oh my god, there's this there's this point where Rod tries to call Denise, and Rod's like, "Are you actually writing this number down, or are you just like pretending to write it down?" Like very much a movie trope. And Jonathan's like, "Oh no, I'm totally writing this down." And when Denise goes, "Oh honey, who was that?" The way that Arnett goes, "Wrong number," is so villainous and over the top. I was crying the first time I saw it because he has this look on his face where he's basically like half a head turn from looking right at the camera, but it's like it's dead serious. It's like the most dramatic part probably of the whole fucking movie. And I could not stop crying the first time I saw it. I'm like, this guy, and of course him voicing Bojack, it's one of my favorite voice acting roles ever. I think he absolutely kills it there. Throwing to the actual stunt work itself. So they talked about it on the podcast. Guy broke his fibula, I want to say, on the opening stunt where the guy, where Rod's supposed to slide on the truck. But apparently the guy actually missed the truck. You can see it in the actual opening number. The stuntman actually broke his fibula, and like a true stuntman, the first thing he asked was like, "Did the shot look cool?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, no, this actually looks great. We can totally use this." But I mean,
that's interesting. I've always wondered how they pulled that off, but I guess they didn't pull off what they wanted, and that a better result.
But yeah, the stuntman was like legit, like, "Oh, okay, can we how does it look?" And
that crash.
Yeah, right, because it looks bad. Like the actual like crash, like, oh shit. And apparently guy broke his I think he broke his foot, I want to say, on the whiskey sequence where he hits the back of the trailer. Like that, there's that cutaway once the glass hits, and you're just like, oh, because he actually fucked himself up.
He's not okay.
Yeah. I love the pool sequence because he's so like he's not even close to
no.
he's so short. Like it's like it's kind of like in one of those 90s sitcoms where someone like throws up the ball to try to make the last shot, and it's like so off the mark.
Yeah.
Like it's like not even in the realm of possibility. But I love that pool sequence because all these kids are gathered around. These kids are clear. These kids know he's not gonna fucking get that shit. They're just like, all right, we're waiting for this fucker to fail, and and they totally get what they want. The last big stunt, because they end up losing all their money because Rod snaps and like breaks and like fucks up a car. They end up going to this AM radio station, which is ran by Chris Parnell. Speaking of guys who just get comedy, Chris Parnell's great, man. Like he was great on Saturday Night Live, and I'm old enough to remember when Lazy Sunday actually like premiered, and that really being one of the first viral videos. Like that was a huge deal for SNL, and really ushered in a new golden age for SNL because SNL was struggling at that point. and the Long Island show up. Kristen Wiig shows up, Mulaney shows up. Like, I think people forget, like, there's like a 10-year gap of SNL where they had Tina Fey, Amy Poehler, Sudeikis, Hader, Sandberg, Mulaney,
Armisen.
Fred Armisen, Myers. I think I mentioned it already, but Amy Poehler, like it's
Maya Rudolph,
insane.
right?
Yeah. Maya Rudolph was on there too. Like it's like a killer's row of all these comedians who've all gone on to do. Like, I'm a big Documentary Now fan. Just to add to how much of a hipster I am, but I love Documentary Now, and Armisen and Myers are two of my favorite writers. It really sucks that Late Night with Seth Meyers is having their budget cut, so Armisen's going to be off the show apparently. Like, which that bums me the fuck out, by the way. But the amount of people who've come through SNL, like through that golden age, is pretty wild. But and then Parnell's voice work on Archer is second to none. He's fucking great on there. But the actual speech that Rod gives about eclipsing your fathers, Brad hit it the nail on the head. Like, it's about this guy who doesn't want to be eclipsed in any way, shape, or form. And Rod gives a speech about, Frank, I'm gonna get you better, you sack of shit. And and Frank is listening to this on his couch on the radio. I'm like, this is incredible. And I think they I'm gonna butcher the line, but Parnell's character Barry's like, oh yeah, do you like terminate ill fathers? Do you like father-son broken relationships? We turn into a perfect date to AM radio to listen to it. It's like, what is happening? And I will say, it has this comic book element where he gets a new bike and gets a new costume, like at the very end. And honestly, the new costume's badass. Like, I remember seeing it and going like, wow, this is actually pretty cool. Like given how nerdy these fuckers are, this is actually pretty cool, like a pretty cool moment. I know I've been talking about this. Canada, I'll throw it back to you. Like, as we kind of get in like the back half of the film, what are some of the things that stand out to you?
Well, he got the spirit of the eagle, and was it the wolf? Like a wolf?
Yeah, and the fox.
Has nothing to do with flying.
Yeah, not at all.
But
not at all.
What impresses me so much about this ending is it sets Rod up to succeed and to actually finally hit a jump. The music is swelling. It sounds beautiful. It's very sports film. He's finally going to do it. And he ends up pulling off the most spectacular crash. Like, I did not expect it at all. Like, well, they've already had brutal crashes. How could they top that? So he's going to make it. And then when you see everyone like looking up like wow, but then like he's not even with his bike anymore. His arms are flailing. That's what made these stunts so good. The little extra touches, because Rod looks like he's reaching for land, is what they call it when you're falling and your arms start helicoptering like that. And I'm like, this is kind of beautiful. Like, he still failed. And I am glad that even though he loses big time in that stunt, that he still manages to, I don't remember if it's a Deus Ex Machina or something that saves Frank, or that people love the crash so much that they pay the money. I'm not sure. But
little column A, little column B. Honestly.
Yeah. But it's nice that, like, succeeding from your failures is a lesson that it's pretty rare to see in any comedy or drama, honestly.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, I think everyone always thinks back to, everyone thinks back to Rocky, and it's like, no, Rocky does lose.
Yeah, Rocky lost. The first time. When you tell people, that Rocky lost, a lot of times people's response to that is, huh?
yeah, because people don't believe you. They're like, no, like, he won, right? It's like,
Apollo
no, he
won that first match. And they're like, what? And then Apollo loses the second one. And according to Rocky and Sylvester Stallone in Creed, Apollo won the third match that was never televised.
Yeah.
And people go, and it's
Yeah, so he had a losing record against them. It's pretty wild.
perseverance and tenacity. That's what Rocky's about. And Rocky, the series, also kind of forgets that as it goes on. No,
I mean-
not really. I wouldn't say that. It kind of keeps it still. I mean, he had to get the Eye of the Tiger back. Anyways,
Yeah. I will say myself, this is one of my favorite paced comedies. Like, it just hits the ground running, and there's really no slow moments in it. There are some great montages. The whole montage where he's talking about like where the team will have like a $30 allowance to like get like food, like a t-shirt, and Rico's like, now you're talking. It's like, oh my god, like it's like there's just moments like that where the movie like stops to give you a joke and you're like, okay, cool, right on, and then it just keeps it keeps going. There's a point where Rod is just in the garage and he's just hitting a car engine with a hammer, doing absolutely fucking nothing, and it's just
like an insane
like,
person.
Yeah, it's like, and even Denise is like, oh my god, it's so cool that you're like doing this to save Frank. He's like, oh yeah, I'm really just doing just so I can kick his ass, and she's kind of like, oh, and still hangs out with him, and still and also when he even gets the girl, like the first time he kisses her, it is the most awkward, like junior high like level, like oh, what is this, like it's such an uncomfortable kiss. And I love the film for that. One of my favorite moments, and it's very underrated, I think it's after like he's been so there's this great montage of Rod doing all these stunts to go ahead and raise money for Frank. One of the great punchlines is like Rod is proud of himself. He's like, oh yeah, like he's got all this money in like one of those old school like giant Arrowhead giant ass water jugs that you like have for the office. And he's like dancing. He's like, yeah, like I'm making all this money. And then Frank spins this canvas around to show that he painted Rod getting fucked by a horse, and you're just like, dude, it's like why do you hate him so much? It's like
right, you wait for Frank to come around and be like, I do respect you, like in how these stories go, and it never comes, and he just doubles down on how much of a piece of shit he is to Rod.
And it's very much the Dewey Cox thing, where it's like anytime his dad shows up and says the wrong kid died, you're just like, you're a monster. Like, this guy. Like, and I love that even Dewey Cox at like near the end of the movie is like, dude, I just want you to say you loved me. Like, if you just, and he doesn't even get that. Like, he machetes him, and he can't even say that he loves him before he dies. It's like, oh my god. Maybe my hardest laugh, and that is saying something. But one of my hardest laughs is when Rod gets home from a stunt. Oh, that's what I was saying about the montage. There's this one where he jumps into a barrel and they throw the barrel in the pool, and they can't find the keys. And it's for this like kid. It's for this kid's birthday party, and they're like, "Oh my god, where are the keys?" And Dave McBride's Rico just busts out a gun and shoots the barrel. And I remember just like, oh man, pulling a gun out in front of children and just going, fuck it. Like,
Perfect.
Like, oh man, it's so god, I'm crying. But it's so good. But the underrated scene I was trying to bring up is Rod is talking to Frank after all that, and he's like, oh yeah, Frank, I did the stunt, and we're making some money, and we're on our way. And he's like, good night. And he turns, and Frank is right there. And he's like, who are you talking to? And he's like, ah! And it's just, oh my God. Like, I'm not even kidding. This might be top 5. Like, I was going through Ian McShane's filmography, and I'm like, this might be a top 5 Ian McShane performance. Because it's like John Wick movies, Deadwood, even as shitty as the movie is, and I'm not a fan of the movie, but that Pirates of the Caribbean film he's in, I think that's he's actually the best thing about that. Actually, like as shit as that movie is, And then what, American Gods? Because he's great on American
Oh,
Gods
man.
too.
Oh, that's right.
Like
It's Mr.
yeah,
Thursday. Yeah.
yeah, he's, oh my god, he's fucking amazing in that. But yeah, like he's fucking great. He's one of my favorite villains, like in a film. I absolutely adore him. Okay, getting to that final third, getting that final fight. Rod, you know, rises from the ashes after that horrendous crash. I also love the ongoing joke of him and Kevin having like a little song ritual before he fights Frank each time.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, you know, may they protect you, may they protect you. It's like, oh, I love that. And so he goes to fight Frank, and Frank is actually stronger now because he has a new heart. And and so Rod actually gets some hits in. You're like, oh shit, let's go. And
It's
so,
a great fight. It's a great
it
fight.
is. And so you're kind of like, oh shit, like Frank might be in trouble. And so he goes like, so Frank is like, oh my god, like finally a worthy opponent. And before you can even get to the next word, he throws a ninja star at Rod. It just nails him right in the shoulder. I'm like, Jesus Christ. And
It's great.
and so then they literally go through the wall of the house, like completely just fucked. Like this
Yeah.
house is just fucked. It's like it's the X-Mansion at this point, just completely like fucked up. Rod hits him with a brick, fucking Friday style, which
It gets so violent, like they're trying to kill each other.
We haven't mentioned her yet, and we definitely should. Shout out to Sissy Spacek,
Mhm.
who does a great job because she's like the straight woman in this, and
Yeah.
she's just so clearly like, oh yeah, they're fine. Like, because even Chris
Yeah.
Parnell was at the barbecue, and he's like, should we stop them? She's like, oh no, they're fine. Like, let them just let them just out of their system. So there is a point earlier on in the film where Rod asks Denise if there's a move that you can show someone that would make them shit their pants on instantly, and she's like, "Yeah, there actually is a thing." So she does it to Rod, and Rod's like, "Oh, like, ha ha, I need to leave now." And
I guess
so
it didn't work.
yeah, right, yeah, like didn't work at all. And so Rod has Frank in this arm bar, and he's like against the car, and he's like, "Say I'm a man, say I'm a man." And he finally goes, "You're a man, son." And so in that moment, you're like, okay, Rod is actually like, Rod got what he wanted. Frank told me he's a man, like he's gonna let go. But no, Rod takes that extra step and does the fucking move. Frank drops to his knees and goes, "You've got to be kidding me." And then Rod gets the Rocky ending. He goes, "Yeah." And
Yeah. It's so triumphant. It's so good.
And I'm not gonna lie, y'all. The first time I saw it, I remember I was like, I am having a drink right now to celebrate Rod winning. I was like, that is like the perfect ending to the movie, and it's just, oh man, like I think obviously comedy is very subjective. You know, like what makes me laugh will make everyone else laugh. But I don't know how you don't have like a blast with this. Like it's one of those movies that I've probably watched it. God, I've probably watched it 15 times, like easily.
Mhm.
Like I probably have watched it more than Anchorman, to be honest. And I watch Anchorman a lot. Like that's become one of those background noise movies I just kind of throw on, But getting the final thoughts for myself, I love this movie. I think this movie is fucking brilliant. The soundtrack, as I mentioned, is fucking great. There are so many jokes that we didn't even cover. One I'll throw out real quick is they're at the whole swimming sequence where they're having Rod hold his breath. Dave has a sister, and they're like, and she's like, yeah, Mom wanted to know if you wanted Kool-Aid. Like, don't even think about it, just bring it. I'm just like, why are you so rude? It's like,
Oh man.
and then when she comes out with it, she's like, "Where should I put it?" He's like, "I don't know, Brainiac. You tell me." It's like dickhead. But there's so many moments like that. Oh yeah, the one I will throw out is before Denise has her whole moment where she breaks away from Jonathan and breaks up with him. So first off, if you have a shot for every time that Will Arnett says "babe, wait," you'll die, because it's just one of my babe, wait, babe, like that whole sequence is great. But right before that, he goes, "Oh, hey, I'm gonna go and grab a Coke. Like, maybe I'll get some dong bags and we can bone later." I'm like, oh my god, calling them dong bags is like the most uncomfortable. Like, it's such a weird, gross term. I was like, oh, I don't like that. But the uncomfortableness of it makes it so much better. Yeah, I love this movie. I genuinely love this movie. It's one of those movies that it does not have a 4K, and goddamn it should, because I would pay good money for Hot Rod 4K. I adore this movie. It's a fan fucking tastic. There's no even question on it. But buy this if you have not watched this. It's $10 to buy on Prime Video. Like, it's well worth $10. Like, buy this shit. It's wonderful. Brandon, I'll throw it to you for final thoughts and your grade, sir.
Oh man, this movie, like you mentioned, there's like jokes every minute, every second, great physical comedy, like all around. One scene that we've not mentioned, and there's so many, but one that always sticks out to me, and I'm just now realizing the Rocky parallel thanks to this conversation. But when like it's Rod getting his mojo back, and like he's recruiting like his team, and like then he's walking in the street, people giving him approval, and then like they start following him, and they're like, oh yeah, they're really proud. Then they start singing, like there's like some musical number, like people playing instruments in the street, and then it turns into a riot. People like start fighting each other. People start like destroying establishments. Then Rod and his crew are just like, what the hell is happening?
Man.
Run away, like get away from that scene immediately.
Rico steals the TV, like he's holding it in the next scene.
Yeah.
He's like,
it's so absurd, and I love it. I love it so much.
oh man.
Definitely one of my favorite Lonely Island projects. It's like in that same boat, like you mentioned, Dewey Cox, Anchorman, Wet Hot American Summer, and Dodgeball.
Yeah,
with just like these weird comedies that I can like turn on anytime. Notice a joke I haven't noticed before, or like a moment becomes my new favorite moment. It's hilarious. And I think like you said that, or you might have mentioned it from like their podcast, that they were trying to make their own Wet Hot American Summer, essentially.
yeah. So the studio
love it anymore.
The studio said they wanted Dodgeball, and they said that they went out of their way to make their own Wet Hot American Summer.
Perfect. And yeah, I think they totally accomplished that, because it's that same kind of absurd, almost like fantasy like, where like anything can happen in this world. People survive things where they shouldn't be surviving. Those kind of comedies, and I love that so much. But no, yeah, this is fantastic. Cast is hilarious. Andy Samberg and Lonely Island Crew, like this is the reason why like I always watch anything that they produce or like make, and I'm holding on. They give us like something new soon. Palm Springs was a while ago.
Yeah.
No, I love this movie, and I think if you haven't seen it, it's like I just thought of this. It might be the perfect double feature with The Fall Guy if you love stunts and stuntmen.
Ooh, okay.
So,
I like that idea.
Both have some romance in there, depending on how serious one takes the other. Is
Right.
up for debate, but I gotta agree with Hunter. This is a fan fucking tastic for me. One of those I can just put on anytime and laugh.
Hell yeah. Canada, your final thoughts and grades, sir.
Yeah, I also very much loved this movie. I really like the little things, like seeing the opening, kind of nodded like, that's funny. He missed. That's really funny. And then when it adds a little extra to it and he vomits from the pain he's in, like, that's really interesting. You absolutely would vomit if you almost died.
Absolutely.
And the way Andy sells it is very good, because he's not just like blah, he's like going over the top.
Yeah.
Andy Samberg, 100
Yeah.
always to 11.
He commits. He really commits.
He's such a cartoonish but kind of human character. Like everything is to the extreme with him, but the core of his characters are always relatable. Like, oh, he wants to be respected. That's to a lot of people way more important than love. Like so many of these films are like, why doesn't my daddy love me? And he's like, that fucker's gonna pay me respect because I deserve it. Like that's so more primal and fun. And this whole cast is ridiculously peak in terms of comedy, especially in our modern day. I love that Chris Parnell even is in here, and he's been one of my favorite voice actors for years.
He's
Archer,
he's very underrated.
Very underrated. And Will Arnett also, love that guy. And BoJack and Lego Batman's one of my favorite Batman.
Oh, like that might be the best. That might be the best Batman art movie. Like, you can legit make the best.
And I watch it often because the kids, and I love it every time.
I do too.
You have Danny McBride, brilliant as always. His unabashedly unashamed characters are some of my favorite. Because I used to say there's nothing admirable about a Danny McBride character, but doing what you want whenever you feel like, and then looking at everyone else like they're crazy, or oh, well, they were too big of pussies to actually do what a man like me did. That's kind of admirable.
Yeah, it actually is.
I love that he brings that comedy into all his stuff as well. But yeah, again, I very much enjoy this. Isla Fisher at the time was off of I Heart Huckabees and Wedding Crashers. So she was already entering her peak into the, have you seen this new redhead, this comedic and dramatic genius? And for her to be in Hot Rod during that is wonderful. Because it means she just cares about the work and cares about her colleagues. And
she's having fun too. You can tell she's having a blast.
So much. With his goofy ass Andy Samberg. I forget why he wears the mustache. I don't. Because it makes him look tough, or.
Well, because remember he like wants to be able to grow one, but he has a hormone disorder.
That's right.
Like that's which is hilariously a Brooklyn Nine-Nine joke that they carry over with Jake Peralta, is that he can't grow a mustache. So I love that that's continuity into a Loudon project.
That's wonderful. Yeah, so it's an A for me. The only thing I like more that Sandberg and Lonely Island have done would be Palm Springs, but that's an all-timer as well. So yeah, A+.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Also I will say, in a world where I constantly bitch about studios not caring about kid stuff, it's so fascinating how well Rescue Rangers works. Like I don't understand how that movie works as well as it does, because it shouldn't. Like it really should not work at all. And yet, like, kind of in that Scott Pilgrim way, the people who are involved were like, we love this property, but we love it enough to make fun of it and still kind of be serious about it. Like it's a very fine line. But yeah, like Rescue Rangers is one of those movies that works so well. Also, the fact Mulaney and Sandberg couldn't keep track of who they were voicing makes me really happy. Like them admitting that on Jimmy Kimmel, I was like, that's fucking incredible that you guys are just like, who cares? Like we're pros, we got the shit. Barbie, so that was Hot Rod. So all right, got one more review and then we'll get you guys out of here. So let's talk about because it was a couple days ago, on the 12th. Let's talk about Superman. Let's talk about my Adventures with Superman season 1. So this is a show I'd been like working my way through. Again, when you're unemployed, you have a lot more free time. So I've actually been able to slowly catch up on TV. So I'll probably be done with Gen V. I'll ask Brandon to review that and that animated film that I'm blanking on right now. I'll ask you to review those with me next week. Yeah. Canada, if you're around, I'll have you on. But definitely want to talk about Gen V. But My Adventures with Superman, I've just been, so before I get into that, I have to give CW some credit. I've given the CW a lot of shit throughout the years, especially those last couple seasons of Arrow, which God help me. But CW, man, has shown a lot more respect to DC characters that a lot of times that the people at DC have actually shown to DC characters, especially in live action. Stargirl is a character that actually got some shine. That's actually a surprisingly good show. Once Legends of Tomorrow just admits we want to be Doctor Who with superheroes, and that's about a couple episodes in the season 2, that show just takes the fuck off. You're like, okay, now you get it. Season 2 of Arrow, I think, is absolutely fucking brilliant. One of the greatest what ifs is if DC had not been assholes and actually let them fall through with the Suicide Squad, which they're clearly setting up for season 3, before they went ahead and completely went, no, haha, kidding, Ra's al Ghul. And then they became ridiculously dependent on Lazarus Pits for like 2 seasons after that. Yeah, exactly. And Batwoman, I won't even touch on that show, because that show is just like, clusterfuck doesn't even begin to describe that show. And as someone who actually watched Gotham Knights and hated it so much, I didn't even want to review it and talk about it anymore.
I didn't even realize it premiered. I thought it
got
canned immediately.
Oh, it got like 14 episodes. Oh, dude.
Wow.
Oh, it's bad.
Well, at least it got released.
Yeah, like
I thought it was canceled completely before
that's just
the light of day.
Oh, that just made me sad because Batgirl can't get released, but Gotham.
Yeah, no, you take your Gotham Knights and you like it.
Oh, that's just, like I know that wasn't even Brad's intention, but that just made me so sad.
That was Bat Family Babies, right?
Basically,
basically, yeah. But there's no Bruce Wayne. Yeah. Bruce Wayne basically got killed on the street by a member of the Court of Owls, and you're just kind of like, oh, it just took one member of the Court of Owls to kill Bruce Wayne. Cool. Like it's that show sucks so bad. Anyways, but Superman, CW's gotten Superman right, and look, I will admit, I talked a lot of shit about what's his name, Tyler Hoechlin. Yeah, I think it's Hoechlin. I talked a lot of shit about him. Not because I didn't think he'd be a good Superman, but just when I saw him, I just didn't see Superman. I was like, I don't know. When he showed up on Supergirl, a show that I actually watched from start to finish, because I'm a big fan of that show. I remember when I saw him, I was like, okay, like we're getting Superman, that's cool, but I didn't really need Superman. And then we get Crisis on Infinite Earths. And that's where I was like, okay, this fucker kind of gets it. Like, he gets it in a way that they don't get it over in like main DC continuity, which look, I'm a big fan of the Injustice games, but I'll be the first to admit, I think those games did more harm than good, because DC was like, oh, Superman needs to be evil all the time. It's like, no, you need to be leaning into the all-star Superman shit. That's what you need to be doing, not this Injustice shit. This Injustice shit should be like a reminder. Like, you should tell your audience, like, hey, Superman could potentially snap at some point, given magic or certain kryptonite, what have you. But Superman is a beacon of truth, and that's how you should be treating him. And Superman and Lois has nailed that. That show has nailed Superman in a way that a certain director never could. It's crazy how well Superman and Lois works on that budget that they are stretching like a motherfucker to go ahead and pull everything off. Which leads us to my adventures of Superman. So I will be the first to admit, outside of the two people here, one of my other man crushes, I fucking love Jack Quaid. I love that dude. I think Jack Quaid is fucking wonderful. Like, whenever I see him in something, I get excited. I am behind on Discovery, which I'm gonna probably just start that over at this point, because it's been a while since I saw the second season. But Lower Decks getting canceled, I think, is one of the dumbest goddamn decisions at Paramount. Like when I read that, I was just like, God damn it! I was like, really? Like, something that gets Star Trek, and you're gonna like I don't get it. Like, it's one of those.
I hope it becomes like I could have became like that Star Trek's like Futurama, just like keep it going for like
well, like it's
those
one of those
seasons
shows.
do always have a conclusive ending, so I feel like the writers and the comedians involved in that, and Jack Quaid, one of them, kind of know that any day they're going to get canceled. So
Yeah,
getting
right.
I think it's
It's
5
kinda like-
seasons is pretty inspired.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's very much like whenever Chuck was on the air, and like you could tell the writers are always like, "Oh man, this might cancel us." We need like we need to make sure we tie up we need to make sure we tie up as much of the shit as possible because there's that constant threat. So congratulations are in order because My Adventures with Superman's already been renewed for season 3, which congratulations to everyone over there. But yeah, I love Jack Quaid. I think Jack Quaid is fucking amazing. In Scream 5, I remember even saying, I was like, "Oh, Jack Quaid's in this," and the fact that movie got me to say "fuck Jack Quaid" like that alone, because I love. It's like, oh man, this motherfucker. But Jack Quaid's wonderful. He's absolutely great. And when you hear him voice Superman, I went, this works. This actually works for me. And in the animation style, like it's kind of, how would you say, like kind of like a little anime-ish? Like it's a little anime.
Western anime, like in the same sense of like Korra or Airbender.
Yeah, I'd say that as well.
Like it's not straight up Japanese anime. Like you can tell Americans are behind it, but it has that anime influence that they obviously wear on their sleeve, like proudly.
That's a good way to put it. It's kind of it's similar to Powerpuff Girls in that way. But as I started the show, one of the things I appreciate is that this is a season that clearly knew where it wanted to go. Like they clearly went, okay, we want to start here, we want to end here. Full spoilers, by the way. And I'll just say, the actual ending of season 1, I was like, yes, because there is a lot of, I don't want to say meandering because that's not the right word, but there's a lot of like kind of villain of the week shit where they're like, okay, we are setting the table for what's gonna come, but if you're not a Superman fan, or even if you are like I am, you might be still sitting there going, okay, these villains are interesting, but are we gonna get those upper tier villains potentially? And the show really does a good job of giving you like kind of like Supergirl, kind of giving you like DC level villains, still making them feel like a threat. And then in the one thing that this show nails, and I'm gonna be real, this is the one thing about Gun Superman that I'm already so excited about. And I was nice and didn't shit on Snyder earlier, but that's about to change in a moment. The way that Snyder could never figure out how to make Lois and Clark feel like they even like each other, let alone love each other, always bothered me. Like as much as Evangeline Lilly sucks as an actual person, I'd watch her and Paul Rudd and be like she's a fucking bitch. What am I to say? Like, I mean, but as much as she sucks as a person, I could at least watch Ant-Man and the Wasp and go, okay, there is an actual like flirtation between her and Paul Rudd. I mean, obviously Paul Rudd is just charming as fuck, so that helps.
Yeah, he's really good at having chemistry with his co-workers.
Yeah, but I remember. Yeah, but I would watch I'd watch Man of Steel and I'd watch BV. Like that bathtub scene is so goddamn forced. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. Like it's such a
how uncomfortable, that
yeah,
this is not
like
the fantasy you think it is.
Come on,
wet denim is not good for anything or anybody.
Oh.
Yeah, like it's I would say that scene is super lame. But yeah, it's one of those scenes that just actually does take me out of the movie even more than the rest of it does. But as this show starts off, it does two things I've been begging, and let me repeat, begging the live action films to do. Lois actually has a job, and she has her own shit independent from Superman. She's actually a character, which thank fuck the show understands that, because Lois, one of the things about her, even though she's not super powered, well, depending on what storyline, but in general, she's not super powered. But the fact that she is so tenacious, they established that from episode 1. And it is a thread that continues throughout the season. You're like, oh, wow, she's actually not even a reporter technically yet, but she knows what she's fucking doing. And she has an actual sense of like a moral compass, which, my God, what a concept in news these days. You're like, wow, okay, she gets that. 2, Superman has a friend. And it's not a Justice League friend. He's friends with Jimmy Olsen. And they actually talk and have conversations about like life and love. And you're like, wow, Superman has a friend. What a novel fucking concept. And Jimmy Olsen's not being creepy overseas in the Middle East and randomly getting killed. Like, oh my God, Jimmy Olsen's a character. What the hell you say? But he's great in here. Like, I was so like, Jimmy has a couple like has an episode that's really about him feeling shut out from the rest from Clark and Lois, and you're like, yeah, dude, you like, as someone who's definitely been there, there's nothing worse like feeling like a third wheel. Like it's a very shitty feeling, and there is this point like naturally where Jimmy feels like he's being pushed out, and Superman, Clark and Lois are so very much in that feeling each other out phase that they really do push him to the side, and Jimmy feels slighted, and he has every right to feel as slighted as he does. And I was like, wow, okay, like this is actual great character development. And from jump, Clark doesn't get to know everything. As a matter of fact, when season 1 ends, he knows a little, but there's way more that he doesn't know. And I was like, thank you for not just, because they very easily could have exposition dumped like Krypton, like history, and just been like, all right, cool, let's hit the ground running. But he's getting the shit in pieces. And I was like, okay, I really love that. I love that he's getting in pieces. And last thing I'll say before I throw it to Brandon, his parents are alive. And thank fuck someone who actually went. Let's have both his parents live, because that has been, dude, like Canada, you know where I'm going, man. Fucking Man of Steel of that tornado. It is the most infuriating goddamn thing. No one will ever tell me different.
I just don't feel like I haven't talked to any parent living that said that was a good idea. No parent wants to traumatize their kid like that. Stay in the closet. I will die to make this happen. This is not an inspiring man.
No,
Mr. Snyder. That's like a Lifetime movies. How dare you want to dance instead of boxing? Yeah. No Son of Mine. That's like a parent like that on steroids. You know? Yeah. So I'm not. I have to this day. I have no idea what he was trying to do with that.
And his parents too. So I'm not gonna lie. As I was watching the movie or as I was watching the show, I just kept laughing because I was like, it feels like someone listened to my Man of Steel review and went, all right, we're gonna change this and that and that and that. Like, it's almost like a fucking checklist. And I found myself just cackling because in like the closest thing I would say, at least in Man of Steel, to like inspiration is when Martha Kent is like, pretend you're in the ocean or whatever she says. But it feels like it's at least coming from a place of wanting Clark to be better. Martha in the show is just so proud of Clark. Like when they get their first article published, he has it like framed immediately, and you're just like, oh my God, they love him. Like, they are just so proud of him. Like, fuck him being Superman. They're proud of Clark. And you're like, wow, I mean, it's sad to say like this, but what a novel concept to just be proud of your kid. And you're like, oh, okay. But it's such a beautiful moment, like in there. So Brandon, I will throw it to you because I know you are a Superman. I know you are a Superman fan. What were you expecting going into this, and like, did you kind of get what you expected?
I was expecting, like, just from the jump, that first image that they released for this series wasn't even Superman. It was Clark, Lois, and Jimmy, like, looking very frantic and like looking like in their job placement. Basically, what we get to see every episode, them going on misadventures with each other. And yeah, no, like, this show promised a like it's My Adventures with Superman. Like it's not a Superman show without Lois and Jimmy. And I think that I got exactly what I wanted from that. Like in many ways, this show feels like an answer to, the dark and brooding Superman we had over the years.
It definitely does.
Whether it be Man of Steel or the Injustices or even Homelander and what's his fucking name? Invincible, Omni-Man.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, whether it be any of those people, I think this is an answer to like, oh, you guys remember Superman smiles, he's happy, he has a good time being a superhero, and hanging with his friends.
Dude,
I think this show delivers on that like tenfold. And like it's a shame that it took this long to get like another Superman animated series, like the last in the 90s, not counting the Justice League show. And like I think this one is like perfect. Like I saw like a tweet that said like finally they realized to get the people in the Superman, make it into a shonen, make it into an anime.
Yeah.
That's what the show does. Like I mentioned earlier, there's anime influences up the wazoo.
Absolutely.
And they're not shy about it. Like the animators,
animes that kids shouldn't be watching, even. Like
exactly right. Yeah, like,
yeah, that too.
Which is fine.
But
not at that level.
Oh yeah, I love this.
You wink and nod, Superman.
Right, right.
Yeah. But no, like this show, I think also exceeded my expectations with just the relationships. Like the central aspect of this show, like you mentioned it, kind of like that. Like, yeah, we get like villain of the week, like in season 1, and they're like, feeding us like the overall plot. But at the central, like it's about these characters. It's about Superman, it's about Lois, it's about Jimmy, and it's like about like what they want to do, like with their jobs, with cracking down on whatever like the mystery is and stuff like that. And I think that is such a interesting aspect for these characters, and especially for it to be the central aspect. So yeah, no, I love this show. I'm thankful for it. Glad it's getting a season 3. And like I think like what season 1 set up like is definitely already paying off in season 2.
Ooh, okay. So I'm waiting. Until like maybe episode 7 or 8 of season 2. So I have not started season 2 yet. Like I'm waiting a little bit, but I definitely had I was talking to Michael, shout out to Michael, and he was like, dude, he's like you'll be happy. And I'm just like oh, okay. Like I'm very excited. Canada, your history with Superman I find very interesting because we've taught like so I have to give Canada credit. Like I'm very shocker. I'm very opinionated. And I will say I had thoughts about going the Man. I know, shocker. I had thoughts about Man of Steel before I met Bradley, and we had this conversation about Man of Steel. And then I went back and I rewatched it, and I was like, "Wow, he is so right about every point he made. I can't even like." I think Hans Zimmer's score plays a great trick on you in thinking it's inspirational, and then you go back and listen to the dialogue, and you're like, wait a minute, what did Jonathan Kent say? He's like, oh yeah, man, if that school bus had drowned, like you could have just flown out. Like, why save them? It's like, wait a minute, that's not a Superman dad thing to say. What the fuck? Like, and so like I give Brad a lot of credit because he pointed some stuff out that I honestly was just blind to in Man of Steel, and I think part of it was admittedly that was in early days of the podcast, and I was like, I don't want to hate one director, and how that mindset has changed. But rewatching Man of Steel, it's one of those films I own that I'll like skip around scenes and watch certain sequences, but I can't sit down and like watch it. Like it's one of those movies where I'm like, man, like the Krypton scene, fucking awesome. Even the diner scene, even though they just fuck up Smallville like there's no tomorrow, it's like, all right, like that is cool. At least when it gets to the more 9/11 stuff, that's where I go like, all right, I'm gonna take the off ramp here. But even like the first, like there are moments that film that do work, but I have to give Canada a lot of credit for just being like, look, man, I'm not trying to like, and this is like the thing about Brad that's so great. It's like when he points out stuff, it's never from a malicious place like it sometimes is with me, where it's like, let me tell you why you're wrong. Like it never, like Bradley's never like, all right, here we go. Like Bradley's like, it's just saying like, look. And again, I mean that as a compliment, because like I wish I could be in that place still, but I've talked to too many Snyder Bros and just like fandoms where I'm just kind of broken to it. It's like, let me tell you why you're wrong. But Brad is like, no. So this is how I feel about this, and this is why. So all that said, Brad, like, what were you expecting going into this?
Well, me and my kids were huge fans of the Owl House. And we first noticed that with these promos, Luz and Jimmy looked like Lois and Jimmy look like Gus and Luz from the Owl House. So I was like, let's just watch it and see how it is. They kind of look similar. Not the same voice actors. That's a silly rumor that someone started. They're completely different voice actors than those two. So I'm watching it, and like this might be one of those Teen Nick, as they were called, shows. So let me just watch this first before letting the little kids watch. But my middle daughter is all like, no, it's a cartoon. It's for everyone. You're silly. I'm watching it with you. So I'm not about to be all like, you have to leave. You can't watch Superman, because what the heck would that say about me? That's a horrible message. And, So the very first episode we're watching, and my second daughter, she's like, that baby's in trouble. That car's going to crash. And she doesn't know that much about Superman. And little like 9-year-old Clark chases this car down, stops it from crashing into the tree, and then run back to the farm. And my middle daughter like claps. She's like, Dad, he saved that baby. He saved a baby. He's a hero. And my trifling ass is like, how long has it been since I've seen children clap for Superman? This show is like 2 minutes in, and it's already my jam. So that's great.
So real quick, that's what I cannot tell you. And I've shared the clip in the group chat we're all in multiple times. I could not tell you how angry I was when I started Superman and Lois, and he saves that black kid like 2 minutes in. I was like, holy fuck, Snyder. 2 minutes. 2 minutes. That's all it took.
And with the iconic imagery that we all like as comic.
Yeah. Like
it's really not that hard.
Suit. No, I don't. like I was so confused. Because like when he shows up in the action, maybe a hot take. I love the Action Comics suit. I think it's so I love retro. I love that like Silver Age like look. Same. We've talked about it already, but man, when X-Men 97, when they get their 90s costumes, like, oh my god, like I could have filled a cup. I was like, oh my god. I was like, yes, Disney, here we go. Like, but when he shows up in the Action Comics suit, first off, looks fantastic in live action. I was like, oh my god, this actually looks great. Like, you pulled this off. But then him going like smiling at the kid, the kid going like, hey, cool suit, which is what a black kid would say. I mean, he didn't talk about shoes, but he should. But a black kid would say that. and then Clark going like,
that's what he should have did.
Right. But then yeah, right. Superman, that's a bad one. But then the fact that Clark goes, thanks, my mom made it for me. I was like, oh my god, the show gets it. I was like, it gets it right out the box. And to your point, Canada, dude, I cried. Like, no shame in my game. I legit cried when he saved that baby, because I think in my brain, and I think maybe it's Snyder / Injustice PTSD, I was just expecting Superman to be like, oh man, sucks for that kid. Should have crawled a little faster. But then, like, when he saves the kid, you're like, oh shit, yeah, Superman does this, like, regularly. And it's one of those moments where you go, it's kind of similar to Hercules, actually, in that way, where you're like, oh, wow, like this dude wants to do the right thing. Like, they get this. And one thing about Clark's journey throughout the whole first season is they take just enough elements from Death and Return, because there's this one episode where Superman is just saves 50 people, but he's being worn down, and it's like it's very much what Lex did in Death and Return, where it's like, okay, I'm gonna just wear your ass out and then send Doomsday, and then you're kind of fucked. And it's similar to Spider-Man, the Spider-Man 1 game, where Peter's just working so hard, meets the Sinister Six, and it's just not the time for him to meet the Sinister Six.
Yeah.
And I think it's episode 7, I want to say, where it ends on a cliffhanger where Superman just gets his ass handed to him, and you're just like, oh shit, this is. Yeah, and I remember watching that and being like, oh, wow, this is like, damn, this is actually intense. And, you know, obviously you can do more for animation than you can for live action, but I think the way that the violence is handled in here, Superman never wants to kill anyone. Like, Superman doesn't revel in violence, but, you know, Superman will tax that ass if he needs to. and I appreciate that the show actually shows his strength off, but not all at once. Like, there's an actual learning curve, which again there should be, to him getting his powers, which I really appreciate. I don't know if this is rated. I think it's like TVY 7. If there is a rating, I guess that would probably be it. But or maybe TVPG.
There's some certain things in it that are very like
eyebrow.
This is shocking. This is going to be shocking for a lot of people who watch anything nowadays. But Clark looks at Lois in a way that he acknowledges Lois is hot. Like, Lois is a beautiful woman.
Yeah.
And that's not something you see a lot in not just cartoons, unless it's Bugs Bunny and drag, you know. But when was the last time that happened? Or Elmer Fudd had to ogle Bugs Bunny and drag. But that's what it's like. He's not doing the awooga wolf hits the chair with the table. But he looks at her and is all like, golly, you know. It's like, Clark, that's like, so precious.
Like, he blushes. Like, you're like, exactly. Oh, like, you know, and in
I'd
Canada, I will say
Y7 to teen, but this is a very wholesome show.
Right, yeah. It airs on Adult Swim, which is weird.
Yeah.
I think it's honestly because Adult Swim has, like, nowadays has more of an audience than Cartoon Network does.
Like, that is very true.
Watching Adult Swim than Cartoon Network, and so that's why you get shows like this. They even bring back like their 90s shows, and Toonami's back and all that kind of stuff. Adult Swim.
I love Toonami.
Winning in that area.
Shout out to Toonami.
Like, I think I will say is a part of the Toonami block. Like, I saw I forget the Toonami guy.
Oh shit! Okay.
He introduced the show.
Yeah.
Like, awesome.
I will say for myself, when it comes to Toonami, if y'all do like this show, I'm sure you can buy it somewhere. I don't think it's on streaming, but New Adventures of Johnny Quest, if you can hunt that down, watch that shit. That show is fucking awesome. Like, that is a great show, like a great update of a character I think is very underrated. I like Johnny Quest a lot, honestly, but
I like both those shows.
Yeah, but in terms of Superman, the stuff that they set up, so I'll just say Amanda Waller, she's such a bitch. She's a bitch in every iteration. Like, anytime you see her, it's like, oh no. It's like, oh god. Like, because even Nick Fury, like, yeah, Shield has done some horrendous shit, but like, Shield on occasion will throw West Coast Avengers or Stark, like, you know, a lifeline or something. But Amanda Waller is always like, there's rarely anything good that comes out from Amanda Waller being around. And Viola Davis, I will say, plays her to absolute perfection whenever I see her in live action. Like, I'm stoked for that Waller show, because Viola Davis, you know, she's Viola Davis, she'll fucking crush it. But when you see her pop up on here, it's like, oh no. Like, I remember actually going like, oh crap, like, this is the last thing that Clark's ass needs. And her ascension from how she shows up to where, you know, she'll inevitably go, the way she pulls that shit off, it's such a Waller move. The way she does it, you're like, oh, you bitch. Like, it's so cold in the way that only Waller could be cold. But there's actually a decent amount of DC connections here, like some more obscure ones, but you're talking to nerds here, so I was like, oh, Great Gazoo, fuck yeah, like, I mean, because it is like, I can never think of the
Mr.
I can never think of
Mxyzptlk, I think is how you say it.
yeah, because when he showed up, I was like, I know this character. I was like, Mr. and I was like, oh yeah. But I will say myself, and I've talked to you about this off mic, Canada. Even as a kid, I remember when the Great Gazoo would show up, I'd just be like, "Oh, fuck you!" I was just like, you're such a little shit. Like, you're just here to be, to be an asshole. Like the Beyonder in fucking Moon Girl. You're just like, you're not here to help anything. You are here to just be a prick and ruin the main character's day, and you're really good at it. I'll throw it back to you real quick, Brandon. The fights. We talked about how anime inspired they are. I will say, as someone who is still finishing season 2 of Invincible, I know, everyone shut up. I'm getting through it. It's a little hard to see my adventures in Superman after watching Invincible, and I don't mean that like in a quality way, but I just know, like, you watch Invincible, Omni-Man will, tear someone's head out their ass, and you're like, oh my god, like blood, but like but in this show, I have to give them a lot of credit. I think the violence always hits, but there's not really a lot of blood in here, but it's violent, if that makes sense.
No, yeah. I totally agree. Like I think like the main focus, at least for the season 1, is like a lot of the villains we see Clark fighting are like tech focused, or like they can take a hit. They can take a Superman hit, whether it be like Livewire. She's like the first kind of main villain that pops up.
Yeah, I like her.
But no, yeah, I really much like, it goes back to the anime thing. Like they're handling Clark's powers in a way they would. Gonna shout out to Bradley, Jujutsu Kaisen, like a Jujutsu Kaisen character. They don't know all their moves yet. Are like you mentioned earlier, Clark is still new to this. He doesn't get all the information from Krypton about his powers. I don't even think he knows he's like the sun helps him out yet. But no, yeah, like when that first fight happens against like the robots, like even though he's Superman, there feels like there's stakes. Like he's getting his ass kicked a little bit.
Yes.
Especially in early Superman. But like I said, like his powers manifest like in a way like he's not almost upgraded, but like going comic book nerd again. It reminds me of like when he had like the electric blue powers.
Nice. Yeah.
Manifest. And so it feels like that. Like Superman is already strong, but he can get stronger, be faster, all that jazz. And so like it's a real joy to see like him like how powers manifest like as he fights different villains. Like Livewire has like a wrecking crew that she rolls on. But no, yeah, I very much enjoy like how you said like the violence. I think the episode where like it kind of got a little gross was when he was fighting what's his name? Metamorpho? No.
No, I agree.
No, Parasite. Parasite is his name. Metamorpho.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. My bad. Yeah.
But yeah, when he was fighting him, like he gets super gross and like the technology is like all fused to his like body and it looks very Terminator. But yeah, like once we get to like in the later half of the season, it like again it still has like those stakes from like the first episodes. Like I know Superman's going to survive, but it's always about how when you have somebody this powerful. And yeah, it's really fun to watch. Like it feels like because this happens so much with animation, that season 1 and season 2 were like developed back to back with how fast it came out. But like it's still great. Like I love the action. I love how it's animated. You mentioned Invincible earlier. And it's a joke that they took from the comics where it's like, how come like every scene can't look that good when there's like a fight scene? It's like, well, animation is expensive, so we have to have like key phrase where it's just like focusing on this when nobody's talking. And so there is like that in Superman, but it's never like distracting. Like we always get a lot of complaint about animation, whether it's been X-Men 97 recently, and people are like, no, that show's actually animated wonderfully. But no, I think the same is here. Like I love how it's animated. And yeah, it just keeps me interested every time there's some kind of action scene or even just Superman flying. Like looks good.
I will say the intro for me just gets me excited. Like the intro is so whimsical and it's fun. And like the fact it shows all three of them, like it focuses on Clark last, which it should, but all three of them are prominent throughout the intro, which I love. Before I throw it back to Canada, I will say I love Lois's arc in this season so much, where she comes from this person who's, you know, very hung up on this boy to kind of hating him a little bit because like he knows there's something going on, but like he won't let her in, to her being the one that discovers kryptonite is such a great decision. Because like they really could have just had Clark discover it, but they don't. And I was like, good, because I love that. Like I love the fact that that's how she discovers it. So love that. And then I will say the whole kryptonite element, because you knew it had to be introduced, you know, at some fucking point. But once it is introduced, there is this like the great Gazoo motherfucker. It's hard to say his name. That's why I'm just like, you know, yeah.
That's his whole thing.
Lois flat out asks him like, "What is this?" And like an asshole, he goes, "Oh, it's gonna be way more fun for you to figure out yourself. Bye, bitch." And it's just like, you dick. It's like, just tell her it's kryptonite. And it's like, you did this. You started all this in the first place, asshole. But I love the way that kryptonite, like the way that Clark interacts with it, combined with Jack Quaid's voice acting. That's fucking horrifying. The first time he interacts with kryptonite, you're like, oh shit, like this is like. So if you've never watched a Superman show, you would get like, oh, this is very bad that this thing is even, you know, this thing is even around. Canada, I'll throw it back to you. As far as the action and just where the season ends up, of course it ends with us finding out that this alien invasion that Lois's dad thought was Superman, which, by the way, he is not kind about. Like he has held a grudge for 22 years about this shit. And as someone who's petty as fuck, I kind of appreciate it, but at the same time, there is this point where it's very clear that it's not Clark, and his brain just can't accept it. Like he has to be able to put the blame of him losing his colleagues on something, and Superman is the closest thing. So he's like, "No, you did it," and it's like, "No, he just saved you." That is actually maybe my favorite moment of the whole season, because Lois steps out in front of Clark when he's in dire straits, and her dad goes like, "I'm trying to save you." She's like, "No, I need you to listen to me." And I was like, wow, what a moment. And it's one of those moments that doesn't feel forced. It feels earned like a motherfucker. And Lois gets her time to shine, which has always been one of my gripes when it comes to how they handle the character, you know, when they handle him shittily, or her shittily. And the way that she gets multiple moments like that to be independent of Clark, I was just like, oh my God, that is so fucking great. I know, Canada, that we disagree on this, so I'll let you speak on it. The Zod tease, I was like, oh my God, yes, all of this, give me this. And then Brainiac, I was like, yes, again, yes, give me all of this. The last time we saw Brainiac was that Krypton show that I feel like only I watched. I
did not.
See, yeah, exactly. See, but actually, let me. But did you see the design of Brainiac on Krypton?
Oh yeah, no, I saw all the design.
Great.
The production design and like costuming on that show looks great, but I never watched it.
Yeah, like it's very funny because that's like sci-fi's version of Rome, where you're just like, oh
Yeah.
man, this show's costing y'all so much money.
so
There's
much
no
money.
way, like, there's no way you're getting enough viewers to justify it. So
No.
you're like 2 seasons, maybe. I actually, how many seasons did Krypton get? I'm gonna look that up.
Honestly,
Let's see.
not even 2.
I don't
Like,
know if it got
I think it might
2.
have
I'm
just been
actually.
one.
It did get 2. Ha! It got
Oh,
All
2
right,
seasons.
there you go.
good for them.
Goddamn, they don't even have it on fucking Max. It's on fucking Tubi. Goddamn,
Boo.
DC. Like, DC's like, don't think about Krypton. Don't think about it. But Canada, I'll throw it to you, man. Like, what did you think about the finale / what it set up? And have you watched any of season 2 yet?
Yeah, I watch it on the weekly. Season 2 is about 5 episodes in by
Yeah.
tomorrow, I believe, and I've been
You're right.
enjoying it. As far as cliffhangers go, I don't like them. I've never liked cliffhangers,
We
even if
talked
it's
about
just a
this
20-second, Zod, and you will kneel. Obviously, that's his whole thing. But I've seen Zod
Yeah.
before, so whatever. I have talked to several hundreds, dozens of thousands of Superman fans my whole life. Y'all adore Brainiac. Y'all want Brainiac to be, have
Yes.
justice. Want Brainiac to be that main villain that I guess for the modern audience listening, Thanos was for the Avengers, and I respect that, and I do hope y'all
Yeah.
get that. I drift in and out of comics as I age. I was a huge fan of Superman in my 30s, and now I am again with this show. It's funny, you grow up being like, wow, Batman's the coolest. And then by the time you get to adulthood, it's like,
Yeah.
can I just get some people treating everyone with respect, please? And then you start to realize you're a
Yeah.
Superman fan after all.
Yeah, it's really weird how, like, you realize if Bruce Wayne was named like Muslim Muhammad, how everyone would be like, how dare you train these child soldiers, you asshole. It's like, well, it's like being called Bruce Wayne.
That's something that
But-
the subtext of this show, and it is subtext, does really well. When you've read enough stories about people who love Superman, like I have, Grant Morrison, I read all about why he loves Superman, why James Gunn loves Superman, why Kevin Smith loves Superman. All of them actually point out this is an immigrant story, and you all know that, right? And this show, without pissing off any right-wing extremists, is so focused on that immigrant story that you'll miss it. Clark
Yeah.
is terrified of being an alien invader, but he is an
Yes.
alien and he is from somewhere else. And is this fear of being an alien invader that big of a deal? For the past 10 years, we'd have talking heads loudly and patriotically on the news saying, no aliens,
Yeah.
get them out of here. They're terrible and they don't belong here. And the way this show handles that fear is beautiful.
It
The
is.
ultimate patriot in this show who will do anything to protect his family and country is basing all of that on fear of aliens.
Yeah.
And when that's even said to his face, like, hey, no one, Clark or Superman's not trying to hurt anybody, and he's actually a hero. He's like, no, my fear is justified. You weren't there.
Yeah.
And it's very much how kids are relating to their
Dude.
own parents. Like, so you're afraid of who coming over? What's the biggest cartel coming over now? You don't
it's
understand it, little
scary.
child, because you weren't there. It's like, well, neither were you. It's all a fantasy in your head. Fear is always unjustified in terms of
Yeah.
othering other people. And the show, it's a cartoon. I'd say ages 4 to 30 plus can enjoy it. I'm 30 plus and I enjoy it. And without beating you over the head of it, it's like, well, let's work on what you're actually afraid of. And Amanda Waller is the scariest person in this show, and she's
Dude.
literally works for the
Dude.
government. So I think that's
It's-
really good subtext as well.
Totally.
It's crazy how the Waller shit plays out, but also there's flat out moments where Clark makes one mistake he makes one fucking mistake trying to save this person who's invisible, and the way that the news, Vicky Vale, man, like, so a bit of a spoiler here.
She knows that fear sells.
I mean, yeah, she lives in
Yeah.
Gotham.
Those ratings. She admits to it. I'm
Dude,
pretty sure, in that
exactly,
episode.
man. I mean, to be fair, there's a lot to be afraid of in Gotham. Like Metropolis, you know, you've got Lex, you know, you got Lex being a dick, but man, like in Gotham, you've got Catwoman and fucking Two-Face trying to take over, like steal from banks, and Penguin. Like there's so much, like, you know, Killer Croc might pop out of the manhole that you're walking through. Like, like Gotham is fucking terrifying. Yeah, like if you found out that The Wire took place in Gotham, you'd be like, oh yeah, this totally makes sense. Like like Gotham is so fucking scary. But to Brad's point, the way the show does turn that mirror and go like, what are you afraid of? What are you prejudiced against? And to your point, like, it's amazing that there are these kids who are like, Superman didn't do anything wrong. And the kids get this. And then they cut to these adults who are like, no, we need to take this weapon that could cause damage to our own city. Let's be real. And has it been tested? Well, no. But let's go ahead and use it on this alien.
This is
It's
the
like,
test. What do you mean?
yeah. It's like, Jesus Christ. Like, okay, this is not at all like, you know, there's this tech genius. That's the Parasite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They combined. This is the thing. Like I wanted to mention, like the Superman show combines and like changes a lot of the Superman mythos or like characters and lore. Like, of course, anime inspired, but like I mentioned, we see a lot of like the villains being more tech oriented than like mutated villains like they traditionally are. And yeah, the character of Parasite in here, I think I want to say he's usually, I forget the actual character's name, but he's usually the guy who creates Amazo. He's like the Amazo guy. So I think they combine him with like Parasite, and then this is like what we get in that episode where he's like, we don't need Superman. We've got the technology. We have the information.
Only I can save Metropolis, and I'll need all the funding I can get. Wink.
Yes, please make sure to sign your checks on your way out.
Which is cool, because so many people who feed on fear just want your money. And this show, it doesn't, no one stands up and says, I see now that people who feed on fear just want money. Like, no one's like being a big, silly, human beings don't talk that way, kind of megaphone about its morals. You actually figure this stuff out as you watch it. And I really appreciate that subtext in this show.
Yeah, so getting the final thoughts here. Man, this show made me cry multiple times. Like, because look, I know I come on and I go on my rants and like, oh, everything is evil, and you know, whatever I bitch about, it all blends together. It all blends together after a while. I won't even lie, I do this way too often. But I love seeing fandoms eat, and Superman fans have been starved. Like, I still remember, and I won't go off too much on this, but seeing how Superman was handled in The Flash just made me so goddamn angry. It's like, this is one of your most important characters, and the way you use CGI, like Nicolas Cage was in the fucking suit, and you're like, no, CGI for you. Like, this is your cameo. It's like, you know, and I won't even bring up the other Superman cameo, but y'all know the one I'm talking about. It's like the level of vile that was associated with that character really made me angry, because when you nail Superman, phrasing, but when like I remember the first time I read All-Star Superman, and I was just crying. I'm like, this is beautiful. Like, this is how you get Superman. Like, you get this character that is inspirational and very similar to Captain America. Like, obviously recognizing your own worth, recognizing that government is bad, but still wanting to do the right thing, still wanting to help people. Like, at the end of the day, that's the core of both characters. And All-Star Superman just nails that shit. And in here, Clark has an identity crisis on Infinite Earths, but he has a genuine identity crisis about, about how to save people and how, the public perception is of him. Vicky Vale, the way she dimes him out is so fucked. Like in the way that she fear mongers, like it's straight up Fox News. Like in the show doesn't even really hide it. Like in No Way Home, how you have the whole Daily Bugle font, and it's literally the InfoWars colors and like as close to the font as they can get without getting sued. You're like, okay, like who you're parodying here. The show leans into it, and they even have someone roll their eyes when it's like, Superman's always been there for us, and you have this white guy go like, ugh, like woke, like you hear him please like saying woke. You're like, it's like, oh, like, but again, the show gets it. Like the show understands there will be those people, and goddamn, like next summer, you just wait for all the think pieces about how Superman has gone woke and
It's
how
already
he
happened,
saves
man.
like dude, like God, like James Gunn is gonna just snap on that press tour at some point. It'd be like, shut the fuck up. It's fucking Superman. Like Gunn's gonna snap.
Used to just runs out and starts power bombing journalists.
Honestly, yeah.
Like bait sites. He loves that.
Like
that's a profound and beautiful friendship, Gunn and Batista. So
it really is, man. And and again, like it's like, I appreciate y'all so much, but it's like it's nice to see like good, like healthy, like male friendships. Like we're getting that more and more in comics, whether it's comic books media, whether it's Sam and Bucky, that's one of my that's one of my favorites, or like you had Tony and Bruce, even though that one's not healthy because Tony would gaslight Bruce like at every fucking turn. But it's like you get these friendships, like that's so cool to see these friendships actually be played out. I will say for myself, even though Canada pointed out, and he's not wrong, asking a whole city to turn off their phones, like there's no fucking way. There'd be some 10-year-old that's like, I'm playing Fortnite, fuck Superman. like ironically playing with a Superman skin, since I'm sure that's on there. But that moment, like it's very much that moment from the Amazing Spider-Man, except I didn't roll my eyes. And I love Spider-Man, but that whole like we need all the cranes to help. I was like, okay, New Yorkers, like you can't even get along between boroughs. Like there's no fucking way you do this there's no way you do this for Spider-Man. But that moment is actually powerful because again, it shows that social media sometimes, rarely, can actually be used for good. And you're like, oh, that's actually awesome that this worked. Is it very implausible? Yeah, I honestly buy Superman flying more than I buy everyone turning their shit off. But it's still a really cool moment, and it's moments like that where I'm like, man, they just got this character.
It is nice to see the city get involved and the city actually be a character.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, always a fan of when the city, just normal people, help out the heroes, like that Spider-Man one moment on the bridge, or even recently the Mutant Mayhem finale. Like I'm always
or even just the city acknowledging the hero. Like one of the moments that still like makes me fucking weep is when the helicopter is about to crash on the bridge in the Falcon Winter Soldier finale, and Cap folds his wings around himself using the shield, and you see all those people like cheer, and you're just like, like yes, like you see him doing good. Like I love shit like that. This might be a hot take. I like this as much as I love Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur season 2 so far, and I love this as much as I love X-Men 97. Like I love this first season. Like I was so happy when it got to the end. I was like, oh my god, you stuck the landing. I was like, oh, thank god you stuck the landing. Because there's always that fear, you're like, oh, the show's going so good, like, oh, but the finale's coming up, they might fuck it up, and they don't, and they actually don't fuck it up. And I was so pleasantly surprised, because there's that part of me that's like, man, DC. I just don't know if DC cares about Superman anymore. Like, you know, you do worry about that, but they absolutely nailed this. This is a fan fucking tastic to the highest degree. If you're a Superman fan, I'm so happy for you. Like, if Superman's your favorite superhero, I'm so happy that you have this show. Again, I'm gonna wait a couple weeks till I start season 2. We're working through Gen V right now, which goddamn, Gen V is just like, we're 2 episodes in. I'm like, oh man, I don't like I don't like where this is heading. Like this is gonna get worse, and I know it's going to. Yeah, but My Adventures with Superman season 1, absolutely brilliant. Yeah. So Brandon, your final thoughts and grades, sir.
Yes, I'm just like y'all. I'm a Superman fan. He just like Bradley said, like wasn't always my favorite superhero. I was like, ooh, Batman, Spider-Man's cooler. But no, like as I've gotten older, like I've and it's honestly in part thanks to the show. Like I like got back into reading Superman comics. The recent I forget the writer's name and it's gonna kill me. But the recent Action Comics run, just like in this show, like made me love Superman way more than I have been. And this show gets it. It's nice. It's fun. This is an adventure. It's in the title. You can't help but love the relationship between Jimmy and Superman and Lois. I think it's all super well done. And yeah, like I never would have thought like that I'd be super enjoying a Superman anime, essentially. And I think it's fantastic. Like Hunter mentioned, X-Men and Moon Girl have been some of my favorite superhero shows in like the past year.
Yes.
And I'm not saying it's because of animation, but I'm also not saying that. Animation is always going to be better for me when it comes to telling superhero stories. That's what I grew up on. Like from your Justice Leagues to your Static Shocks to your Spider-Mans, even your X-Men's. So I'm happy that we have a Superman animated show, and it seems that we're going to be getting more just animated superhero projects in general. I'm loving where season 2 is going. I love what season 1 set up. Like that finale, I think was I'm a one kind of person who loves cliffhangers because I love to think about like things.
I do too. Yeah.
But no, yeah, I'm loving this show. I love Jack Quaid as Superman, even like the rest of the voice cast. I've been doing like a fantastic job. Yeah, it just feels it feels like Superman. It feels like you're watching Superman. So yeah, I can't recommend the show enough, whether you're a Superman fan or not. Like I think this could help make you a Superman fan.
I agree with that.
Very least, just like a fan of this show in general, if you don't want to get into other Superman content. And yeah, like you mentioned, that intro is just gets me going every time. Like it's just a burst of energy, short enough. I can't say enough good things about this show, and I hope more people watch it. Can't wait to see where season 2 goes and where season 3 goes. I hope this show just keeps on going. Oh yeah, fan fucking
yeah. I was about to say, it's like great.
It
great. Before I go out to you, Canada, I will say real quick, one little thing that I love that's different is the outro changes each time. Like that's a very subtle thing, but because there's a couple episodes that end in like more dark places, and so the outro reflects that. It's like, oh, that's so cool. Like you're not just, I love that. But yeah, Canada, your final thoughts and your grades, sir.
So I do have a couple of nitpicks. I always prefer magic.
I knew you would.
I like magic monsters.
Yeah,
I like supernatural stuff way more than tech, because I
That's
don't know. Just seeing Superman crush a gun and be like, okay, fight over. Like, that's a little disappointing. I do like how this... Actually, I think that's my only nitpick. Oh, I got too much of the anime references. Y'all know me. For some reason, my brain is all like, here we go with another reference.
your brain is like wired to get like I'll admit like I'm good at getting references, and there's sometimes you'll point out a reference I'm like, oh wow, fuck, I missed that. It's like, okay, yeah, you got me there.
And some of them might be just projecting. Like I bet so many references I call out, the writers would be like, "What are you talking about? I never seen that."
I mean, in the Mr. Mixel-Pitalook episode, there's like literally a wall of references.
Right. Yeah.
Oh man, so
I
I have that note actually written on my phone. I was like, oh my god, it's Brad's nightmare wall. I was like, it's just a wall of references.
Everything.
And that's
Yeah.
for me, that was a pretty good episode, but I hated that episode at the same time. As I was watching this, that was episode 7, by the way. I'm watching it and I'm like, man, I'm so glad we don't have any multiverse stuff. We don't have any evil Superman. We don't have any ridiculous, but can you really trust your friends early on stuff? And that episode laid all of that on thick. And I was like,
and that last 10 minutes is like, oh, you thought I wasn't in here?
Right.
But it did look very cool. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to complain too much. To what I loved, though, Superman has friends, and that's so nice. Isn't that nice, everybody?
Right.
This show is literally a show for healing. Too long people have been like, this Superman can toss someone into the sun, but he doesn't. Why not? Like, this show is healing in a way where people are starting to realize, oh wait, that's right, because that's wrong. And we don't openly do things that are wrong. That's right. I remember now. And we all remember that, people do exist without the desire to just toss all their problems into the sun. I like that Superman saves, and it's for a very simple reason. I like that Jack Quaid has embodied the Superman that would find a cat, take it out of the tree, and hand it to its owner. And like, is that lame and silly? Sure. But Jack Quaid in his perfect performance is all like, but the person missing it will be sad.
Yeah.
And it's like, damn, that hits me right here for real. This is the kind of Bluey healing his performance is bringing the world. That
Bluey,
not this impossible Boy Scout, but like just someone that thinks of others. And surprise, with Jack Quaid's performance, he's projecting that we all can think of others and we all can actually be that hero, not someone who lifts a meteor and tosses it away that's hurtling towards a city, but someone that's like, oh, is this your cat? I found your cat. Here you go. And that little girl hugging the cat like it's the most important thing in the world, Yeah. And being like, oh, I did good today. Okay. All right. I'm not going to think about tossing my manager into the sun today. And then the third thing, I love how Jimmy and Lois aren't just gender swapped Superman pals. They're completely full-fledged characters, and they discover Clark and respect Clark for who he is on different levels. Are we kind of talking spoilers here?
Oh yeah, we're full spoilers. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
When Lois comes out to Clark, it's extremely bullheaded, irrational, and scary.
Yeah.
When she wants to find out who Clark is, where I'm like, girl, see a therapist. And I've thought about it, and is throwing yourself off a building when Superman's around, is that dangerous?
Oh, that's nuts. That's fucking crazy.
It's so Lois. Though. It's like
what it reminded me? You know what it reminded me of? Do you remember that It's Always Sunny where Maureen Ponderosa starts doing the Mark Wahlberg thing from Fear, and she starts going like doing that shit, and you're like, girl, you're insane. Like, that's what it reminded me of. Like, you could die if Superman like happens to be in like a lead lace bathroom. You're fucked. It's like don't throw yourself off a fucking building.
There's a good Robot Chicken sketch where kids are putting themselves in danger on purpose to get saved by Superman for their Instagram. It doesn't end well, but it's a good one. But secondly, it's episode 6, I think, or maybe it's 8, 6 or 8. Clark is struggling to tell Jimmy, and he wants to tell Jimmy, but he's got, again, back to this is an immigrant story. I don't want my best friend to be afraid of me. And that's beautiful and relatable. anyways, he's like, Jimmy, the thing is, and Jimmy's all like, Clark, are you Superman? And Clark's all like, yes, you knew. And it's such a beautiful moment because Jimmy's like, Clark, one of the first times we met, you tore a door off its hinges and said, oh, dang these doors with their weak hinges.
Yeah.
Clark's like, well,
Yeah.
it could have been weak hinges. And Jimmy
Love
says, look, it's just something that seemed like you didn't want to talk about, so we didn't talk about it, you know, and
Which,
until you were ready.
yeah.
And like, wow, not only is Jimmy Olsen Clark's friend, but he's a fucking fantastic friend to this farm boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, that goes back to this is a Superman that is healing the whole, if a man like this existed, he would kill you. It's definitely so beautiful for that. And
Yeah.
again, tech stuff, man, I'm not a big tech fan, but that's because I'm
Yeah.
old. There is a kaiju in this, so that definitely boosted a whole rating.
Oh, the
Season two
kaiju's so good. I love
I
it.
think that is amazing.
and it's a cool looking kaiju too.
Yeah.
As a huge Power Ranger fan, I am such a sucker for good kaiju, and I was just like, oh yeah, like that's the stuff. Yeah, I fucks with good kaiju.
And just in finality, Superman's not a hero because he can fly. Superman's a hero because a burglar can, and this is Jack Quaid's performance again. A burglar could unload all six right into his chest, and then Superman be like, "Are you down on your luck, buddy?" Like that's incredible. That type of empathy is amazing. So I'm going to give season 1 a B+, and absolutely please watch season 2. The cliffhanger, I'm sure, is very important to a lot of people. I don't think you'll be disappointed. There's a lot of other stuff that it's setting up through episode 1. Oh, and thank God that we didn't have to wait till season 5 for Clark to move to second base. You know what I mean? Like, not just gee golly Lois, but like episode 4, I think he's like, Lois, I like you. And it's like, oh,
straight up. Yeah, straight. Because I won't lie. There was that part of me. I was like, oh, are you going to pull like a Jim and Pam at The Office? And like season 4 is when you finally, I'm like, oh God, don't do that shit. And like the show's like, no, 4 episodes in. Like, fuck it. Like, let's
and
go.
his flirting
like,
is so cute. He's like, Lois, hey, I got your coffee just the way you liked it. Your favorite kind. And she's like, oh no, this can't be my favorite kind. That's all the way across town. And he's like, yeah. And he gives her the coffee all the way from across town from a little shop. And she's like, thank you. And she actually appreciates it. And yeah, I watched this with my daughters and my little kids. The little kids are all like, blah, you know, but me and the teenagers are all like, that's hot. He's kind of, what do they say? Yes, Superman, Super Riz or something. I don't know.
It's funny though. Like,
oh no.
I will say, as someone who's been in a relationship for a minute, stuff like that matters. If you can get your partner's coffee order, like it's such an appreciative, like, oh, like, thank you. It's like, yeah, like, because
it shockingly is. I don't notice a lot of that stuff, and I hate to undercut you, but like a month ago, since my wife runs a concession and food, very good, very financially a wonderful adventure. But she's like, oh, I made you a coffee, she said. And she puts down the coffee and there was a little heart on the lid. And I like blushed about that for like 2 days. And my oldest sons are like, oh my gosh, it's just a heart on a cup of coffee. I was all like, I need to tell everybody about this. And my oldest son was like, oh my God, Dad, stop.
That's the thing though. Like once, like,
I mean, I will, really good. Yeah.
I will tell your kids, because at some point, the Real Pineapple, I am heading up to Canada here. I'm gonna head up to Canada probably in the next year. That's gonna happen. Nice. I'm gonna head up and visit Brad. Like when I show up, you know it's really sad, because P. Diddy's allegedly is a piece of shit. I can't make that Bad Boy for Life reference anymore about coming to your neighborhood, because now that just feels gross. It's like, oh, like I don't want to be like P. Diddy coming to your neighborhood and have your neighbors be like, but I will say myself, to your point, yeah, little stuff like that absolutely matters. And there's a level of cuteness to their relationship that's just very endearing. And yeah, man, I agree with you. It's really nice to have positive Superman back because you know, like, I don't want a Punisher that can fly. You know, like I've already got Blake Castle. I don't need. You know, like watch season 2. Watch season 2. He's gonna have someone in the chokehold and not snap their neck, and everyone's gonna be like, "Oh." Superman's gone woke. He doesn't kill anymore. but that's My Adventures of Superman season 1. I will definitely have y'all back for season 2 when that's over. But everyone, thank you so much for joining the stream. As far as what I've got coming up next, what do I have coming up next? That's a great fucking question. I've got a review for Queen Rising, which is the directorial debut of Princeton James and stars April Hale. I actually went ahead and did an interview with both of them earlier today. That interview is about 30 minutes. So that'll be on the channel on Tuesday along with the review. Had a lot of fun talking to them. I know I mentioned it at the beginning of the stream, but I've been doing a lot of interviews recently, and they've been a lot of fun. So to everyone who's made the time to come on the show and talk about their art, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for trusting me to interview you and everything. Just love that. Thank you so much. I will have finally, because I've been putting this off, but next week I'll have a stream for my MCU wish list, which is going to be about 12 topics that I think the MCU should cover. One of them won't be the Blade movie, but goddamn, Kevin Feige, can you figure that shit out? It should not be this hard to do Blade. Like, fuck, give me $1 million. I'll fucking direct Blade. Shit. But I'll have that MCU podcast wish list, and then next week I'm gonna be reviewing But I'm a Cheerleader with Jordan for the first time. She'll be on the show. I'm excited to have her on. And then oh crap, Brandon, we're reviewing Gen V season 1. Canada, I'll see where you're at because I'd love to have you on for Gen V season 1. And then oh my god, the Netflix cartoon that just came out. Why am I blanking on the name of it?
Ultraman.
Thank you.
Yeah,
yeah,
it just dropped today, Friday.
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch that. I'm gonna watch that tomorrow morning. After I get my morning walk in. So I'm excited to watch that actually because
Me too.
That's giving me kind of like Astro Boy vibes. Which if you haven't seen the Astro Boy movie, you definitely should. Yeah, so I'll have reviews coming up for that in the next week, as well as I'm gonna go see Maxine on Wednesday. I'm really excited to see that early. So I'm gonna venture out to my IMAX theater. I'm gonna check that out early. I'm really excited to see that. And then I'll have a review up for the Bike Riders that comes out next weekend. So I'll have a review out for that as well. Austin Butler, you're off the shit list, man. After Dune Part 2, like you're off the shit list, dude. I can't wait to see you with this. I'm excited for the Bike Riders. Yeah, I'm really excited for that. But Brandon, can you please tell the people where they can find you?
Yeah. If you're still on the hellscape known as Twitter, I am childish_Brando. But otherwise, I'm honestly on Letterboxd more often nowadays. So if you like movie reviews and checking out what I've been watching, I Brando, not Marlon. I think the last movie I watched was All of Us Strangers, and it wrecked me. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Nice. And then Canada, where can they find you?
Well, I'm not on Twitter. Used to be, but yeah, not anymore. Yeah, those Caitlin Clark or CC racists were just getting too abundant.
Oh, dude, it's
good for her though for saying, "Hey, racist and misogynist, keep my name out your mouth." Like that's pretty cool. She said,
I will give her credit on that. Like, I'm not a fan of hers, but the fact she was able to check that and do it with confidence, I give her all the credit in the world.
So many white famous people are all like, "Well, what is an opinion?" And like, just decry the racist, please.
Yeah.
I am on Letterboxd. What's my name on Letterboxd though?
Isn't Bradley of Martin?
Yeah. That should be it.
I'm really happy I know your letterbox.
Yeah, we knew it immediately.
I'm just an old man. I'm 40 films into my Richard Jenkins rewatch. So
Nice.
yeah, Richard Jenkins. If anybody has any interest in that, follow me on Letterboxd, Bradley of Martin. And I'm also contributor to oneofus.net. What am I reviewing in the future?
I was gonna say, yeah. What reviews do you have coming up for that?
There should be a Rachel Sonnet film coming up called "I Used to Be Funny."
Oh yeah,
There's
those.
an
Oh,
embargo on
yeah.
that, so no opinion from me yet. But it's Rachel Sonnet. Come on now, y'all know.
Yeah.
So that should be my next review that drops on that site. Yeah, that's oneofus.net.
Hell yeah. And everyone, again, thank you so much for listening. Oh yeah, I want to mention this. I'm gonna have Jordan on to review, but I'm a cheerleader. I'm gonna have my review up for Prom Dates, which is another LGBTQ film. I'm gonna be watching Love Lies Bleeding this weekend. I'll review out for that. I'm trying to get caught up on stuff that people were really digging this year, so I'm trying to get caught up. And then I'm gonna have a review. I'm gonna have a review coming up. I think I'm gonna review Boys Don't Cry. That movie really angers me, but I think it's an important film to review. So I think I'm gonna suck it up and just. That's kind of like LGBTQ's 12 Years a Slave. Like that's just one of those movies. like you have to watch it once, but it's not a pleasant viewing experience. But I think I'm gonna suck it up and watch it. So I'll probably have a review up for that by the end of the month. And then next week, kind of wild, I'm gonna have my mom on a stream. We're gonna talk about Baby Reindeer. Which, man, that's another show. Like I just fuck. like I want to review it because it's Pride Month, but that's one of those shows that I'm like, that put me in a dark place that I'm just not comfortable going. So we're gonna have a discussion about it because it's not easy, but I hope at least through talking to my mom and talking about some of the issues like sexual assault and things like that we can at least have an informed discussion. So I'm gonna have my mom on talk about that. But Brandon, Bradley, I appreciate you both so much as always. Thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate y'all, and everyone else who watched, appreciate you. And never forget, as always, to keep it real. We'll talk to you soon. Yeah.
All right. Thanks for watching.
Yeah.
All right, I gotta get back to 10 kids. See you guys in the chat.
Oh yeah, that is a thing.
That's a thing.